Howdy, howdy, everybody. We're starting a little bit early today for kind of casual competition because our players are so excited to play that they are already running away without us. So we're going to quickly run through what we've got going on here today. So I'm here with DeeKayIronside for the second time. DK, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it's Saturday and it's time for some casual TFT, so things couldn't be better, I would say. And how about you, Connor?
I'm doing pretty well, Oh gosh, people are already in the game. Let's quickly run through what the prizes will be for today. As always, Little Egg Negs and Rix.ggRP on the line. Please go check out Rix if you've got a chance. Incredible organization. Details are in the Twitch chat at the moment. We'll talk about some of the other tournaments before the next game. But for now, I'm just going to check if this is all set up correctly. Hopefully it is. It is! We're getting to our very first game of the day. So DK.
Yes.
We have, we've got ourselves a couple of lobbies worth of players. What are you liking in TFT at the moment?
Me personally, I feel like for some reason, for me personally, Ashe has been working quite well, even though most people do not favor her. But I've been getting a lot of Sniper's Nest augments at the moment, so I guess that may be why. Yeah. Otherwise, just in general, in this lobby personally, I'm looking forward to see Demonized, our previous champion, from the last tournament, which is quite a while ago since you had your well-deserved break to do other things. So
I was just doing more work. It was less of a break.
Fair enough. But,
Demonized also. Thank you. What a champ in not just tournament terms, but also in personal terms as well. Apparently, it's voracious appetite for lobby 2.
Nice. And one of our other previous champions, Bizu, is then in the second lobby, which we're looking at the moment. So we have quite a few old contenders, I would say, and we're starting off with a prismatic augment, it seems, in Bizu's lobby.
Oh boy! All right. So you're talking about liking Ashe. We were in a world which it's possible to get 7 Syndicate pretty easily now. We've got double bodyguard down the bottom as well. So certainly from our 2 players we're looking at right now, this lobby is already going to be high strength and resistance strong as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's also very hard to resist the new recruit, I feel like. Even though the other 2 things, like Bruiser, not so much, but the Syndicate may sometimes also feel just like a bit of a bait, because yes, it's good to have the 7 Syndicate, but it's only really good if you manage to get another of the Syndicate augments where you profit from the extra stats that you get, or like the extra gold that you can get from like dominating with Syndicate. So be interesting to see whether it actually turns out well here for Bizu and his Syndicate emblems.
Alright, so we've got an interesting setup here for Demonized at the bottom. So very early Senna, very early Morgana. Of course, our Syndicate player would love to have gotten that early Morgana, but will be denied for the time being. That's still a super strong front line that will stick around for ages and allow for Talon here as the primary damage dealer to get the job done eventually.
Yeah, especially if he manages to get an early Zyra now as well. Bringing in the Scholar just will add quite a lot to the team. And the Socialite spot is probably the only thing that's a bit iffy, because it's like not just at the front but also on the very far right, so not really good for Morgana, since she likes to be in the middle to get as many stuns off as possible. But yeah, I'm sure Demonized, as the previous champion, will find a way to work around it.
So we get a chance to check in with D-Wolf TFT, and they've gone for double Striker. Or I guess Striker Crown, as I believe it's known. So we should be seeing a lot of Strikers in the lobby. How do you feel about Strikers at the moment?
I'd say they are very strong, minus Irelia, since she sort of got nerfed into the grave, like unless you get Irelia 3. But otherwise, I feel like Sivir is still very strong, even without the Hextex. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to go. And I mean, basically, I think it's 120 AD that you get for free with 6 Strikers. So like, which unit doesn't want to have that for free? It's just a massive like bulk of stats that anyone loves to have, and just overpowers quite a lot of comps, especially if you don't have much of a front line.
Let's see, what have we got going on here for Adrian Minune? So they've got themselves the Radiant Relics, I believe, though I can't see a relic, so maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe on his bench, which may be why we're not seeing it, or the unit died already, which had it. I'm not sure, but it's definitely
Oh, wait, I feel like I'm misidentifying that augment because we're seeing
Oh, it
three
could-
items on
Oh
the...
yeah.
Is that
It's
component
probably
grab
the
bag?
item grab bag. Yeah, component grab bag. It's three component. I don't know how many components it is actually. It must be 5 then, I guess, if he's got 3 items now already. Because I think 3 is the golden one. So I'm just gonna say it's 5 for now until I find other information.
There we go. Yes, it was item grab bag. Thank you,
Yep.
Demonoids, for making up for my lack of ability to identify objects and things. But it's worth noting, from that last setup we saw there with the grab bag, that we did see a fair amount of syndicates knocking around as well. So even with the syndicate crown, it may be a little bit of a tough climb here for Bizzo to get exactly where they want to be.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's also just rough, I think, to find early units that work well with the Syndicate now. And especially if you have just a Darius 1 as your front line, it's obviously not going to hold for long enough. So, and despite having the Syndicate crown, only having 1 Syndicate unit so far in your shop is also quite rough for Bizu.
Yeah, so I've been sort of looking into this as a big Syndicate fan of myself. I mean, I see what you've been here with this current comp, that, when the backliners have got access to the Syndicate buff, it's not doing a tremendous amount for them. But in terms of what Syndicates are actually doing, I've been seeing more people actually just using Syndicates as a meat shield because they've got a lot of defensive stats there. And just showing them all in the front line, and they're just playing Jhin rather than re-rolling the Ash.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for sure. It's also like I think one of the best Syndicate emblem users will be Jhin, as you said. Like, firstly, it fits into the comp very well since it's usually either going for snipers or arcanists, depending on whether you're playing Ashe or Ahri. So yeah, Jhin uses it very well, and he just doesn't die as fast. And the Omni Vamp obviously helps a lot for backline carry still. Like, even though I agree with you, it's usually better just to stack it on a front line and use it as meat shields.
Alright, so we have got... Oh, hello. Bitch gonna tell us off, but... Oh, no! Alright, we'll have to imagine what the boards look like right now.
Okay, fair enough.
But
we've got 5 seconds on the bottom.
Yeah, we've had the blue buff coming in there, as well as, some more Arcanists coming in for the Syndicate Crown player. We've got the addition of a second Scholar, just as you said, for Demonized. Where would you like to kind of see this board go from here? Now that we know we're rewarded for playing heavy Bodyguard as we go. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I still think Bodyguard is also quite underrated at the moment, since all of the comps are still quite AD heavy, especially with Jhin being, in my opinion, one of the best carries at the moment. So I would expect to see this just to go in the very box standard Enchanter Bodyguard direction, and basically just sort of, depending on the lobby and how it develops, either having more like the 5 Enchanters or 4, depending on whether you get an Enchanter Spatula or something, or more heavy into the Bodyguard route, just depending on what the comps are looking like for the other players.
Alright, we get to scoot around and see what other people are up to.
Yeah.
Nothing too shocking as yet, apart from maybe a very, very early level up coming in, so we'll see how that one ends up working out. Look at the lobby overall. Nobody makes out of stage 2 completely unscathed, with Bizzo and Demonized, our 2 POV players, actually sandwiching the top and bottom of the lobby, which is very convenient indeed.
Indeed, it means we get to see where things may develop quite quickly, seeing what the bottom and what the top is doing, and now they actually face each other, and so we'll see whether Bizzo is strong enough to beat him, Demonized, but I'm thinking not. I mean, just hitting also the early Renata is obviously... a bit unfair for Bizzo right now, and he's also on level 4, so I guess he was also planning to keep his last streak in this place, to keep the kill going.
Yeah, you can see how much they're just bouncing off the bodyguards there. Bizzo is taking a pretty heavy kicking, but they have maintained... Well, I suppose they're the only person who's managed to maintain a streak all the way through stage 2, even if it's a lost streak and they've given up a lot of HP to get there. Economically, they should be doing pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's played, so to speak, the early perfectly, just economy-wise, and now it's sort of about the transition that he can make now after the Krugs, sort of depending on what items he gets. And then he may go for an early roll down on level 5 or 6 just to sort of stabilize. That's what I would expect in this case from him. Even though he's choosing to stick on 4 at the Krugs, which most people are a bit scared of, but I'm guessing with the brand and his blue buff, there's no chance that he's going to lose that. So it's all good.
It's always interesting to watch comps like this come together with the Prismatics in that, you know, presumably for Bizzo, you know, with the items they've got right now, which are very, very AP-centric, with the exception of that bow just dropping, you know, we're looking much towards the later game and the Ari coming in to kind of bring the syndicates together, rather than trying to stabilize earlier with a strong Ash presence, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably also just basically because he hasn't found any Ash, or, I mean, he's just recently found the Morgana, which was like the second Syndicate unit that he found after taking the Syndicate emblems, which is, yeah, a bit unlucky. I'm actually personally quite surprised that he didn't put a Syndicate emblem on Swain, but he doesn't seem to want to actually play Swain, so I guess that's why.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as well, that it seems to make sense. Oh, hello here. So we've got for Zelda X Love. I remember hearing about this on Reddit, which is of course the only place anybody hears about anything. The Caitlyn combination here, where it's the sort of the Victor in waiting setup, which apparently, as we're seeing here, works relatively well.
Yeah, I mean, added the fact that he has the prismatic featherweights, so I think that's like something ridiculous, like 75% attack speed or something like that, or 50%, something. I'm really not good with my numbers.
I don't think I've ever gotten it myself, but I think you're right. It is that kind of area, though. I suppose it does raise the question of whether or not we'll actually be seeing them, you know, Zelda running that kind of comp long term with those kind of items.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely looking like it. I think he was also still on level 5 and not on level 6, even though most people would level up to 6 now, as Bizou is also doing, and as I expected, doing a little roll down to sort of try and stabilize, and probably mainly trying to hit the 5 Syndicate for now, which he can with the Ash, if he decides what unit he doesn't want to put in. I don't know why the Talon is probably staying in there, but I guess he ran out of time.
Yeah, I don't know if Bizou is just trying to keep that lost streak up, but yeah, it would be a huge buff to have Syndicate 5 in all the time. In fact, it might still not be necessary, because Brand at 2-star with a 3 Debonair, he's a VIP and he's doing a crap ton of damage.
Yeah, I was a bit blind to the fact they actually got the Brand as a VIP, that it makes all the world of sense that he's got the Talon in there to keep the Debonair buff in, and is probably just now wanting to eco up to 7 and maybe then slow level so that he can put in the 5 Syndicate now.
Yeah, I mean, I completely missed that as well. Like, I think this is one of the things that, you know, I love about running these salts as well, is just to see these players doing stuff. I'm like, that seems like a weird thing to do. And then it's like, oh, it all makes sense. It's, oh my gosh, it's a double prismatic lobby. Oh my lord. So Enchanters coming in for Demonoids. Verdant Veil's going to be tempting for Bizzo up at the top. But it's not direct combat power, and you have to imagine the power of this lobby is ridiculous.
Yeah, we're firing on all cylinders right now, Counter. I mean, it's absolutely... To get the Bodyguard Crown and now the Enchanter's Soul, that is an insane combination of prismatic augments, because he's just basically got survivability for days now already, and he's still got 2 or 3 units, depending on how far he wants to go, to put in. So he hasn't even got a normal Bodyguard on the field yet. He's already got them lying in wait. Yeah. That's going to be a very strong comp. If he now manages to get good, I don't know, Senna items maybe, and then stack on a Senna, or maybe even just go for the Scholar variant and keep it as it is for now. He is looking insanely strong, demonized in this first lobby here.
Adrian is going to be next up. Of course, this is the player that is horning in on all of the syndicates, which is keeping Bizzo from finding any of them in their shop. Unfortunately for Adrian, I'd say things aren't going that well. They are in the top 4, and there's a fairly big separation between the top and bottom 4 right now. So, well, Adrian will take the L here pretty convincingly. I don't think it's going to be enough to push them into the bottom 4.
No, I mean, if anyone could beat Demonized right now, they must have some sort of Hellborn combination of augments to top this, because this is just insane. The strength, you can't beat him right now. There's no chance. He hasn't even got offensive items on his units. He just can't die, and then thus outlives anyone at the moment with the damage of Renata as well. So yeah, it was actually, despite what you expected, enough to put Adrian into the bottom 4. It was that big of a loss, but I think a few people are gonna suffer the same fate over the course of the next few rounds, at least for this stage.
I mean, I guess, yeah, the other thing, I was just underestimating quite how strong Demonoids was and how much of a ridiculous hit it was going to be to take the L against them. We've got a chance to put in a Dragon's Claw here if you really want to go hyper ridiculous. But instead, it's going to be the Ionic. I think, yeah, at some point we had to pivot from purely defensive stats to a little bit more of a damage amp.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that he does that because he's got so much defensive stats just through his augments. And going for Ionic Spark is still fairly defensive, right? But it just adds an extra nuance of damage that can definitely help if someone turns up and actually manages to kill something on his board. But I'm still very unsure that that's ever going to happen, at least during this stage.
We can see the bottom board is not even a little bit close, so let's go check in on Bizzo and see what they are up to. So we have got the very healthy looking beginnings of an Ari setup coming together for Bizzo, who did take the win there. Yuri Yahad and Fual currently below them on the standings, and the Riven just above. So we've got our top 3 players, 90s and 80s, sitting pretty. Adrian, Riven, and of course Bizzo in the middle of the pack. And then we've got some players in the 40s starting to struggle, and I think that's why they're spending out and leveling up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in prismatic lobbies, even if it ends up being a triple prismatic augment, the tempo is just a completely different one. Like, it's not even a normal round of TFT anymore. It suddenly feels a lot more like hyper roll in the sense of everything just powering up so fast. And yeah, props to Bizzo. He's actually managed to turn around his game quite a lot, because I think he hasn't actually... he must have lost once in between, yeah, I can see, yeah. But after his roll down, he's managed to stabilize a lot and is actually looking like maybe even stronger than the rest of the lobby, apart from our top 2, obviously. But definitely looking very good for now.
Riven is the guardian of the steps towards getting into top 4, and they are not standing a chance here. They definitely don't have the damage to be able to bust through. I suppose, this is a good chance to talk about what these comps are actually doing. Because we've got the sort of trickle of damage coming out from the brand, and the trickle of healing as well. But it's definitely not, destroy the entire round immediately as some comps might be.
No, I mean, it's as you said, he's definitely using the Syndicate quite well, since he has the Gunblade plus the Omnivamp from 5 Syndicate, right? So he's got a lot of extra defensive stats, so he doesn't die as fast, and he just sustains a lot with the Omnivamp and also the Gunblade of Brand. So it's definitely a good enough comp for now. Obviously, won't keep him running through the late game, so he's going to have to find that Ari at some point, or some other carry, like maybe a Malzahar or whatever. And he even had the Jhin in the shop just recently. I was interested to see whether he actually took it, but then Twitch decided to deny us that right, so we'll have to check in at a later point.
I can pop back here for a second and see. Yeah. So, I mean, one thing we can at least look forward to the future for is that presumably we are basically guaranteed, as we do see at Ari there, a 7 Syndicate game when we've got the Syndicate crown in. Is there, I can't think of a world in which you wouldn't want to get the full benefit of having the 7 Syndicate out.
No, definitely not. I mean, if you take Syndicate crown, then basically, if you don't go 7 Syndicate, that'll be a bit weird. But I mean, you never know. It can always happen with augments, like with our friend Demon Eyes with the free bodyguards and enchanters. So you can be led in different directions, of course. But usually, when you take Syndicate crown, you should be heading for the 7 Syndicate. He's going to have a bit of a rough time for now, as it seems, since he's just trying to sort of pivot. But I'm sure once he has a few rounds, or say by the carousel, he should be probably fairly stable. If he gets the RE2, that's obviously going to be his final stabilization point.
So this gives us a good chance to bring up the idea of Ari positioning here. So we're actually just going to see Ari shoved a little bit further forward. She was being placed very, very cautiously, as we actually see, looks like Adrian's got the 2-star Ari already with a relatively similar item set. In fact, a higher burst item set.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do if you're Bizzo here, knowing that someone has hit before you?
It's a big struggle. I mean, to be fair, he's looking quite understandably quite frustrated. It's really hard to sort of pivot for him now. I guess he's just going to hope that he's still going to hit the RE2. And as you were saying, with the positioning, extremely important for Ari, because basically, depending on positioning, she either just 0 damage or all the damage. So it may also just come down to better positioning, in this case for Bizzo, if he manages to self-position the other Ari. But in this case, it's looking like the RE2 is just going to overpower, especially due to the extra item that she has.
Not even a little bit close. Bizzo has said that frustration crossing their face. They're down to 24. Fuel is only the only one below them. The possibility of taking a 7th or 8th in this lobby is very real.
Yeah, he's in a world of problems right now, especially in a prismatic lobby. Basically 24 HP is sometimes even a one-shot if you're really unlucky and just get fully stomped. So he's pushing now for 8. I mean, he had the decision to either roll down or push for 8, and then still had the Debonair in. He has the Draven VIP, which is now working with the Syndicate. Interesting choice to go for the Last Whisper, since Draven as a unit has the innate inbuilt armor ignore. But I guess he's just running out of options right now, so he's getting desperate, understandably.
Well, this is something I was looking into myself, because I was too puzzled by the amount of times I was seeing this on Meta TFT. You know, it was like looking, what's the best item set? And the 3 top item sets all had Last Whisper in there. Though I don't know if there's some kind of interaction with the ability that actually makes it worthwhile, or... And it must have some kind of, you know, it's either going to be additive or multiplicative, which is quite hard to say this early in the morning.
Especially both of the words.
But I'm with you. I'm sure I read about when people were doing the initial research on the set that people were like, "Oh, no, this isn't, you know, this isn't worthwhile." But it's at least popular if it's not necessarily good.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it, right? Like, especially with there's a lot of defensive builds running around at the moment. Like, especially in this lobby, I think there's like 3 people having some form of syndicates in, so it's definitely worthwhile. But whether it's the best, up for discussion. I mean, I am also not a full expert on items, and it may just have a very good reason. And as you say, who knows how it's calculated, right? So let's just accept that it's probably okay. And otherwise it's just a desperation move that he probably has to take. And he now has a Grinsus as well, which is actually a fairly good item for Draven, even though he may be missing sustain, which he actually has through Syndicate. So it may be a worthwhile slam now just to save some HP.
I think that's what you've got to do. So you've got that unlimited range and the other penetration you mentioned before. On the other side of the field, Demon Eyes, who apparently only wishes they had this kind of luck in their ranked games, has dropped down some amount of Enchanter. I think perhaps respecting that, as we see here against D-Wolf, this is a pretty heavy AD lobby. Well, I say pretty heavy AD lobby, certainly this round is. We'll have to keep our eye out for how many different players are going for AP and AD as we go.
Yeah, I've seen a few gens. Automatically, I guess, with Syndicate, you have a few gens, and otherwise, actually more AP, I felt like, so far. But we can see here. But 6 Striker, which I'm guessing D-Wolf has by now, with the Sevier and Last Whisper and Infinity Edge. Looking very strong at the moment.
Yes, we will get ourselves a triple prismatic lobby. Oh boy. I mean, if you're running Brand... well, actually, to be fair... Yeah, no, Brand with Blue Battery 2, that's... You don't have to run any mana items. Wonderful. But I don't think that's going to be chosen here. So we've got Radiant items.
Oh, dear.
Personally speaking, I don't tend to play a lot with the Radiant items because I haven't really got a great grasp on how strong they are. I presume they are, you know, worthwhile strong, but in this situation here, ideally, I guess we'd be looking for an item for Ari. Unfortunately, the Blue Blessing is a little too late, and none of the rest of them actually seem like they matter enormously.
Well, I guess the Mistral, if I was him, I would have taken the Mistral, I think, because it just gives your whole team 10% attack speed at the start of the fight, which is strong in any case, right? It's like having extra clockwork in now, right? So, yeah, a bit unlucky with the Blue Blessing indeed, even though I don't think it would be that much stronger for Arya. He just needs a 3rd item on her. Yeah, but the Blue Battery would have been very good with the Brand, obviously, so maybe if he would have stuck with it, may have been better. But the Draven is actually looking fairly strong now. His front line is super strong with the Morgana and the Syndicate Leona with the Titan's Vow now. But yeah, to agree with your point, I am also not a big fan of the Radiant items, also mainly because I just have no idea how strong they are in comparison. And usually, when you get prismatic augments, there's some sort of form of like the Syndicate Crown or something that fits into your comp that usually you prefer to take.
So Fuol is out, but we've got still a heavily contested 7th place. Ribbon is fighting with Bizzo to try and get as close to the top 4 as possible. A D-Wolf He's putting on a very dominating performance, 87 and on a win streak as well, coming out of stage 4. It's very impressive. I think we might have been able to grasp ourselves a little glimpse of what they were doing there. Zelda and the rest of the lobby. I mean, it seems like they're kind of, everyone's sort of ramping up a little bit as we come into stage 5, knowing how, how much damage Demonoids is putting out before. D-Wolf with 7 striker. Maybe that's enough reason, even in a lobby which has got a lot of AP, to be running 6 bodyguards.
Indeed. I mean, it's not just that. He's also got a Jinx too. He just kindly wrote in the chat, D-Wolf, what he has. He means 7 strikers, 4 scrap. He's got a Jinx 2, an Irelia 2, a Sivir 2 with perfect items. Yeah, people are not going to have fun facing him. But I think still Demonized in comparison to the rest of the lobby is still very strong. I mean, he's looking pretty good and has got the Jinx now to sort of have that damage to sort of overrun people plus the front line.
Alright, so Yuri Jihad up against Demonized here, where they've got themselves a sniper set. We mentioned that Jin 2 from before. We've also got a sniper Orianna as well. So she should be doing a decent amount of damage, of course, because she's using her ball from an extreme range. But the front line, as said, is ridiculous here. And Zeri, we did see at least there with the snipers and Zeri, they have got some backline access to get past this big front line.
Indeed, but they're still struggling, and I think if Orianna gets the ult out, it should be still 1. Yeah.
Woo!
Very close indeed, but I think if Demonized manages to level up a few more of his units, like there's a few units like Jace and Jinx still on level 1, even the Renato's still on level 1 and Braum. If he levels those up, I think it will be a different story.
Alright, well, it's certainly a strong front line. You can see, actually, that I love the next player indicators test. That's so much more useful to be able to tell a coherent story. So there's a good chance that Demonized is going to go up against one of the 2 bottom lobby players right now and send one of them out.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a rough time. I think Bizu still looked fairly strong. I think it's not him that he's actually facing. It's facing the ghost of Riven, I think that is.
Yes, okay.
No.
So in that case, we won't have to worry about that as much. We'll check across with the syndicates. No, we won't!
Or not.
And in that case, yes, let's go back here and see how our 1-star hero is going to do. Demonoids has got the Jinx doing a ton of damage in the backline, though, of course, like you said, at 1-star, she's not the best survivability.
No.
And against Riven, who apparently has just been eliminated, was strong enough to beat Demonoids, but at least Demonoids doesn't need to worry about that anymore.
Yep, definitely good news for Demonized, as one can see. Bizu holding strong. I'm hoping that Twitch is going to let us have a look into Bizu in a minute, because there's a good chance that maybe one of his last fights. Yeah, looking good. It's a bit unlucky that he's not hitting his Draven 2 here. That will probably make a lot of difference. And also the Ari still not hit. I mean, it's just been a really unlucky round, it feels like, for Bizu. You hate to see it, but it is what it is.
It feels like, I honestly, in their position, I would feel pretty aggrieved that, you know, I've taken a Syndicate Crown first choice, and then several other people in the lobby have all decided to go in on Syndicate units. You know, the Ari has been contested, the Morgana is being contested as well. It feels like they should be doing a lot better. Up against D-Wolf, the lobby leader, who's no longer on a win streak, but they have got a super strong looking Sivir. Remember, this is a Sivir with 7 striker in the backline with the Quicksilver tearing through the Syndicates. And I think Bizzo is going to have to settle for 6th place.
Oh, that was so close, though. I was actually wondering whether he could survive that with 8 HP, but I guess not. A very valiant effort by Bizu, and commiserations to him, because it just really looked like an unlucky round. As you said, we all know it. We all know the feeling playing TFT, and you just choose an augment and nothing goes in your favor. So, yeah, commiserations to you, Bizu.
Oh boy! All right. Wait a second. Am I reading this correctly? Who are we looking at here? Was there a second player with a Syndicate Crown? We just missed that.
No, I think it was just showing, because Bizu was kindly continuing to spectate. I think it was just showing his augment still in the field, even though his team was
right, okay,
dead.
he was just, yeah, okay, right, yes, he's probably just discussing his augments with his viewers. So that's the featherweights comp from before. Note that the Caitlyn has stayed in place along with Disintegrator as well to keep pushing up her damage. I honestly would have never even considered trying to go for this kind of approach, so I'm fascinated to see it work.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you kind of the memories, if people know it, I don't know. from I think it was set 4 or so, the Candyland comp, where you played like Poppy with full AP in the front line, and you also had the Caitlyn in there. Those were good times, even though it was really annoying to face against. But I mean, it's always nice to remember certain things from the past. So yeah, very brave thing to actually go for that comp. As you say, I wouldn't have considered it either, and it's working out very well for him so far.
Actually, beating out Adrian there is a pretty big deal. For I believe that was Demonize. We were watching that happen too.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, no, I do apologize. That absolutely wasn't the case. I'm getting confused because the players are switching around point of views randomly. So we don't have the best of graphs on the entire lobby because of that reason. But let's see what we are looking at. So we're looking at Zelda with the. So this is the. Oh, so they've actually sold the Caitlyn.
Sold the Caitlyn indeed for the Kai'Sa, yeah. So
the featherweight's actually only affecting 1 or 2 units now.
Yeah, affecting the Quinn, Ashe, and Kassadin now for now. Obviously not the best, but felt like probably that one had to make a move now. Still not looking terribly good, unfortunately, and that was it for Zelda. But a very valiant effort also in this case with the Caitlyn. I like to see it. It's always nice to see creative comps. Always much more entertaining as well. So, and it did up until this point look very good, but it just seems we've reached sort of the threshold now where like the full comps. And it is actually a second person with a Siddiq. I must have overseen that. Adrian also had it then.
So that's. I think Adrian must have picked it up a little bit later on, and that's maybe why we didn't see it coming in.
Yeah. Probably wasn't the first one then. I guess that happens when you have the 3 prismatic augments and now even triple item on the Drake. Like this is, I don't know. Have we missed something that Riot has already put in these overdrive patches in, or I don't know.
I mean, it certainly feels that way when you. Yeah. I think honestly, you're probably more annoyed if you're doing as well as say D-Wolf is when you get those triple item Drakes, just because of how much it's going to swing the power of the lobby. If you're proportionally the strongest player in the lobby already, then you're going to inherently benefit less from it because you're already where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like if things stay how they are, then you'll be fine, right? And anything that changes that can be potentially very dangerous. But I'm still thinking like D-Wolf, like how do you stop him? He's just insane. The things that he's hit. I mean, you can maybe even think about trying to go for a 3-star 5 cost unit here.
Oh boy. Well, let's see what D-Wolf has got for us with the double syndicate. Though, of course, no Quicksilver means that is a Jhin who would be doing a lot of damage, but it's healing up from... But surely not enough.
Wow.
Just about survives, but while doing so, took out most of the comp. Sivir is still up. It's going to be tight, but no. Even with Jhin getting hooked, they still won.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the secondary carry in form of Ahri, and also the Orianna will be doing a fair amount of damage, so not the end of the world as it seems, but it's still amazing how long Jhin survived there. I was not expecting that either.
Alright, let's see where else we are peeking around the place. So Demonize is barely looking at their own comps, so we don't have a chance to talk about that too much. But they've now gone for the bodyguard Kai'Sa, who's going to tickle away the opposition HP. We've got 2 Morellos in here, which I guess is a little less than ideal. The damage kind of profile for the team seems to be a little bit, on the slow side compared to any kind of burst.
Yeah, but also a lot of survivability involved, right? So not the end of the world, I think, here for him. I'm interested why he not necessarily puts Kai'Sa in the front line to profit from the Chalice. I think that could definitely help his damage a bit. But for now, it seems not to be his choice, which is okay as well. So far, I would say this fight is looking pretty good also for Adrian. Adrian seems to be poising himself to be in a very good position to take the whole lobby here.
No, I think so as well. I mean, you were talking about being able to sort of shelter behind these high walls of the bodyguards and enchanters. It feels like at this point, that's just not working anymore because the amount of time that's being bought by this defensive bulwark isn't enough for the rest of this Morellos and such to be able to scale up and kill everybody.
Yeah, he's just struggling to hit his carries as well, right? And like he may be able to still get the Kai'Sa too. That would make a world of difference, I think, here. But as you say, also getting 2 Morellos, I'm guessing because it was from the Drake, he probably got another one. It's definitely also, a feels bad moment that you hate to have.
Well, there we go. The Chalice did get picked up this time around. I'm sure nothing to do with what we were talking about. D-Wolf still looking pretty good with the Sivir on the back line, as well as Rabadon's going on to Lucian, so a ton of damage all over the shop, including, of course, Striker Jinx, which is a terrifying combination. That's going to be enough to send Demon Eyes out of play. They will leave in 4th, just behind Yuri.
Yeah, actually, just a side note, I think we had 6 players in this lobby, I'm fairly sure, and I think all 6 of our specific tournament players are at least the top 6 as well, so it's always nice to see. The standings don't get messed up by the random players in there. But apart from that, Yuri Jihad, Adrian, and D-Wolf now battling it out for the top spot. At the moment, I would put my money on Adrian. He's just looking like he's Bizou, but just hit the right champion. So
yes,
Bizou is feeling quite jealous, I think. What are you thinking, Counter?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, so the Syndicate Crown actually came in as last augment for them. I guess the way you make peace with it is you're saying it was right to play Syndicates with a Syndicate Crown. The evidence is that Adrian is currently on a win streak. It's just unfortunate you happen to be on the wrong side of there. As we'll see going up against, so this is, I believe this is D-Wolf's comp, though it's just the Ghost version.
Yep.
I mean, we see the Jinx coming to the back line. Actually doesn't survive long enough to get the job done. Yep. Oh no, my apologies. Was that D-Wolf's Ghost or was it not? D-Wolf
it was D-Wolf's Ghost, I think. Yeah, D-Wolf came onto the board, I think, yeah. Because D-Wolf played against Yuri, I think, because Yuri otherwise would have been out.
Oh my god, you called it a 3-star Sivir. Alright, all bets are off. Let's see, 250% bonus attack speed. To be fair, I have seen comps where 3-star Sivirs haven't killed everything in the same way that other 3-star forecasts have, but it's still pretty damn scary.
I mean, the whole comp is scary, right? Already without the Sivir 3. I must agree with you. I think Sivir is potentially one of the worst 3-star forecasts at the moment, because the numbers look amazing, but I mean, she can't attack faster than a certain amount anyway, and as we can see, actually struggling here against Yuri, who seems to be running some form of a sniper comp. And Sivir 3 just completely got wrecked.
D-Wolf just lost to both of the other players in the top 3, so that's appalling news for them. Gosh, you think you're in a safe harbor when you hit your, you hit the strongest version of your carry, but I'm trying to figure out what's going wrong here.
He's basically got no frontline, right? He's got the Blitzcrank with his Zephyr, which obviously isn't the most amazing tank item, and his other frontline is basically the Rek'Sai. That's it. So basically, he is on a time bomb, and at some point, the units are just going to all crash down on Sivir, and then she can't just do everything, and also she has no sustain. So that's probably like the 2 points that are just making him struggle a bit. No sustain and no frontline. It's a bit hard, especially in a prismatic lobby as well.
So we have got the Braum coming in there. I don't think it was there before and just snuck past us. I have to wonder if there might be a world where you drop down from the 6th oh my god. Drop down from the 6th striker, just because right now with a 3-star Sivir, I mean, damage isn't really an issue anymore.
No, damage definitely isn't the issue. And then maybe going for a possible, I don't know, I guess he had 2 bodyguards in, so maybe 4 bodyguards. I'm just not sure it's going to make that much of a difference because Adrian is AP, and the sniper comp is also very mixed damage. But wow, okay, that ended quicker than I was expecting.
So
something changed.
So I think it's exactly as you said. D-Wolf, they put in the front line, and then suddenly they went from losing against both the top 3 to not only beating them, but beating them so convincingly they killed both of them at the same time.
Yeah, insane. I mean, I'm guessing I'm just trying to look. I think the Braum 2 may have just made the difference, I'm guessing, yeah. Gave him enough time just with the tankiness and also the CC. And somehow had a very favorable fight and managed to beat both out, not just with his own comp, but also with his Ghost board as well. So, yeah, well played, D-Wolf.
All right, so we're just getting our results in to get set up for round number 2. I think we should be fairly quickly back. Yes, that was a crazy first lobby. Very, very explosive indeed. So just a quick note about the things we didn't get a chance to go over at the beginning of the competition. So again, just our prizes for today. So normal setup here with a little legend eggs and RP. I'm going to check back on what the results of that poll was, because I'm going to try and bring some more prizes into future events. But we've also got our other tournaments running. So the Rick's GG community tournament has ceased for the time being, but Contingent Esports is still going. You can check them out on the link there. Discord.gg, R capital Q, EZQ for capital U. That's easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
The Mad Hatter competitions as well is just gearing up as well. Linealia does an incredible job of putting on these ARAM style competitions. For now though, we will be taking ourselves to a, let's say a 7-minute break. I don't think we need to go for the full 8 minutes because people are a little bit more ready than before.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll catch you guys in a few minutes, so take a chance to grab yourself some coffee, and we'll be back soon. Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to round number 2 of Canada's Casual Competition at number 37. That's right, I had some coffee during the break, or at least the coffee I had in the last break is starting to kick in. Haha! I'm here with DeeKayIronside. We had ourselves quite an explosive lobby one, didn't we, DK?
Indeed, and I would just continue in the spirit of your saying, let's get ready to rumble counter.
Ooh, yeah! So, in exciting news, D-Wolf, who had promised not to run Sivir, ended up running a 3-star Sivir, which I feel is about as far from your promise as you could possibly get.
Yeah, let's see how this round goes. I mean, I'm personally hoping that we don't have as many prismatic augments this time around to maybe have a bit more of a better grasp of what's going on, because I felt like things just exploded at the end of the last round.
Oh, it's absolutely madness. So for Gaga, well, actually, we've got a good view now. We've got 3 POVs here in the lobby one. D-Wolf saying, they gave me Striker Crown, Your Honor. There's no way I could have chosen anything else. So we've got Edge of Night coming in for Gaga, Syndicate Heart possibility down here for Yerka, and Mash is going to go for the most generic one possible. So it's only Yerka who actually has been left in a position where they've got, like, you know, the non-generic augments to pick from, where they might actually want to choose a route straight away.
Yeah, I'm always interested to see. I find the people quite brave who take Tiny Titans as a first augment.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah, looking a bit forward, you basically have 0 carousel priority for, like, the first 3 or 4 stages. So basically, all of the carousels where you have the single components, you have no chance of getting what you want, unless it just happens to be there by luck. So
we talked about this quite a lot before on broadcasts about the whole... So, Tiny Titans 1 is apparently really bad in terms of win rate. In that you're going to, so you're giving up all the carousel priority, you're not getting any power on the board at all. But it certainly used to be that Tiny Titans as a third augment was so ludicrously strong they actually removed it from the game.
Yeah, understandably so. I mean, it was basically a free top 4 if you weren't necessarily like already on 1 HP, say. So, yeah, I understand why they did that. I still think it's quite strong as a second augment, depending on your position, obviously. But if you've got all the items you want, why not take it? And then it's basically just almost still a free top 4 spot from there.
So Gargar's going to be slamming all of their items early on. We've of course got Assassins, who are tied to Debonair for the rest of the game, and Celestial Blessing down the bottom side. We are seeing who's this here who's hiding themselves at the top of the screen. Someone has got... Oh, that's right. That's right. No, they're not at the top. They're at the bottom. Calculated loss. Of course, we love our, you know, economic augments, and they're going to get the benefit of that. Wait, no, they're not. Sorry, I looked on the wrong side of the screen because they were on the top and the bottom. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, DK. When you've got your calculated loss, you're like, I'm ready to get my ass kicked. And then someone else is, you know, level 3, and you're like, oh boy, well, guess no money. No rerolls for me.
Because, I mean, it doesn't really look like he wants to be losing yet, though, because, I mean, with a Cassadin 2 and a Senna on a fairly good spot, I mean, the only thing that would suggest to me that he wants to lose is that he doesn't have a bodyguard standing behind Senna to get grabbed in case there's another Blitzcrank, but he's still looking very strong. Like, it's an interesting augment choice, definitely, but I guess he may have just got the units and thought, what the hell?
So, you know, tell me if I'm sort of miscalculating the way this all works, but it would seem like you would logically want to take your calculated losses early on, because you're just taking less damage by doing so, but your reward remains constantly the same.
For sure. Like, I personally like to play Yordles if you pay a calculated loss, because usually they're fairly weak in the other game. Like, looking also at Gagamar now, like, coincidentally is about to win, but also playing against another Yordle player, so I guess that's why.
Aha, there we go.
But Yordles, I mean, they're usually quite a gamble in the other game at the moment because they're just so weak in comparison to the rest of the comps. So you can combine that quite well, calculated loss, and also getting free rolls early with Yordles can set you up quite well for the late game if you want to continue to pursue that path.
There we go, Yuri getting another win there against a player who's using the knife's edge, so we're going to be seeing a fair amount of that AD going through. 3 players undefeated so far. D-Wolf, far from dominating the lobby, is currently in last place after having taken some early, pretty heavy hits.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I just realized that I may have made a mistake. Yuri isn't actually running calculated loss, so that explains why he's looking so strong.
Well, there
it
you
was
go.
actually the Yodel player, so actually making a lot more sense now.
Well, it turns out you were, even when you were wrong, you were right as well.
Yeah, I guess both things at the same time, yeah.
There you go. So exactly as you said, D-Wolf's running calculated loss, running Yodels as well.
Yeah.
And I guess benefiting a huge amount from those extra rerolls, so basically like a trade sector that pays you to use it.
Yeah, and also having the extra eco from Yordles as well. So it's usually you end up around 50 gold at the Krugs, which is just insane because you can just slow roll from then on out, depending on whether you want to level or roll for units. So be interesting to see whether he decides to stay with Yordles or pivots into something else because he's got the Lucian on the bench already. But traditionally, you can play that in the Yordle comp as well, just to add the second twin shot.
All right, so coming on to Carousel, D-Wolf will remain at the bottom of the table, and we've only got a one player of Gagamo, who is at the top completely undefeated. The rest of the lobby, though, I think in respect to D-Wolf taking so many heavy losses, we're seeing nearly everybody else still in, a decently strong position coming close to the end of stage 2.
Yeah, I would say for now also it just seems like everyone's doing what they want to be doing. Like no one's frustrated, I would assume, because D-Wolf, like, he's wanting to lose now, so that's all good. And I'm actually surprised with how strong Gargamel seems to be here. I mean, yes, the items were slammed, but everything is still tier 1, right? So now going up to 5 and considering to bring in the 3 Yordle again to have the Arcanist as well. So now I would agree that he's looking very strong. Still surprised that he managed to stay undefeated until now.
All right, so we'll see how things go. I do realize now that it looks like we might be having a little bit of problems with our ranking system. So I think we might need to manually do some calculations as we go, but hopefully it'll all be fine. Oh, I think I know why this is the case. Don't worry, just cover for a second. I'll just see if I can fix it.
Yep, all good. So Gargamel about to receive his first loss against our challenger boy in form of Pids. 42. Love that name, by the way, if any fellow Germans are in the chat. Yeah, the good old Pids on a Saturday. Maybe not at this time necessarily, but I mean, I guess it's lunchtime, at least in Germany. So. Yeah, so everyone has received at least one loss, and D-Wolf actually now getting a bit too much damage, maybe. Like, I always like to, even with the loss streak, be over 70 HP at the Krugs, and he's still got one fight to go and is already under that mark. So be interesting to see how this resumes. But Gargamel now possibly even stronger than before, adding in the Vi and the Rek'Sai to possibly get another win, even though he has the loss now.
Alright, so my research has shown me that in fact we're gonna have to work out the results manually at the end of the tournament, so that'll be fun.
No.
Oh well, this is what happens when we work off a Google Sheet. For now, we'll just enjoy our heady heights of being in a round where it's not so important that we know exactly where everybody is all the time. Let's see, so where should we head next? We've got Mash, Yucca, and Gagamo.
I'd personally be interested in seeing in which direction Joko wants to go. I also would like to see which VIP he's possibly thinking of going. I'm guessing Talon for now, but he hasn't got anything so far. But it's definitely looking more like an assassin setup for now.
Yeah, so we've got Echo coming in with the scrap item as well. Yucca's doing alright, down near the bottom of the table. I suppose the only thing that they're going to have to run into here is that D-Wolf is, of course, much better at losing than they are.
Well, he definitely enjoys more of a treasure for doing so, yes. But in general, now getting another Talon. I personally find Talon not super strong at the moment, and it's also feels like it's quite vital to hit a lot of them early. And also not the best items that he's dropping here either. So it'll be interesting to see if he decides maybe to pivot to a Draven carry possibly later on. But otherwise the lobby still, even though he's at the bottom, very close. I mean, 2 people at 82 and the rest in their 90s more or less. So yeah, everything's up for grabs still in this lobby. Whilst Chushan is our only person on a win streak at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what she is running.
Chushan actually playing with 2 different accounts this one, just for the memes. Didn't have the best of performances in lobby 1, but doing very well here. In fact, we'll get to see what they're up to for ourselves, which seems to be a very interesting setup here with a presumably item holder Twitch doing a pretty good amount of work.
Yeah, for me, it smells of Sivir because she's got the Hextech units in, and she's got QSS and a Gwynsu's Rage Blade, which typically are 2 items that you can very well use on a Sivir. Not the AD variant, so possibly thinking of just staying with the full Hextech variant and going for the on-hit damage instead of going for the full AD in the Strikers.
Alright, let's pop around and see what MASH is up to. So snipers and bruisers right now. The item set we've got here would tend... I was thinking that it was going to look towards maybe a Renata comp with the kind of setup we've got here, but it's not all in that direction.
No, I mean, it's always hard to tell with these comps. Yeah, it's a rough one. Possibly even just going for mutants. I'm not sure if anyone of our POVs can possibly tell us what mutant is this round. It would be maybe helpful to know whether it's worth going mutants. But it looked like Jerker, if I just saw correctly, has found his VIP Talon. I'm not sure if that was correct or if that was someone else possibly contesting him, but I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Alright, a big L there for Yuri. As the twin shots, of course, we haven't talked about twin shots so far today, but
true.
Twin shots being, if you've got nothing else to do with all of your stuff, you can always throw it on a twin shot.
Indeed. I mean, they're still fairly strong. I wouldn't say they're like a top 2 comp at the moment unless you completely high roll Lucian and Gangplank, but early to mid game, definitely still very well worthwhile to play, and as item holders anyway. I do see a sneaky sniper's nest there at the bottom, but it's actually not going to be taken.
This is one of the combinations... Oh wait, no, that's right, I was confused with Tiny Titans. So we would, so Tiny Titans combined with the metabolic booster is pretty gross just for being able to then heal up. If you then go on a win streak and start healing up every round, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this for Yuri though, because they're currently behind. They're on a loss streak. And presumably, to really get value out of the metabolic booster, you have to then start winning in order to just get free health rather than just dying more slowly.
I mean, I guess you can just take it to give yourself a bit more time, because even if you don't win, you still get the 2 HP, right? So in the end, it will still be probably at least 20 HP that he gets for free. You want to get more, obviously, but maybe he's expecting to make a certain stabilization roll maybe soon, maybe quick level to 7, and then try and go from there. That's what I would
certainly need to do something different than what they're doing right now, because as we can see from these mutants here, they are tearing a hole through Yuri's comp, and that's another big L. That's a lot more than 2 HP lost at once.
Indeed. I mean, the MF still looks fairly strong. Like maybe if he gets the Misfortune onto level 2 fairly soon, or whatever carry he wants to run, then I think he'll be okay. And yeah, even though he's at the bottom already, it still helps also with carousel priority for the items. So it's definitely not wasted. And I think the other 2 awkwards that he had to choose from just weren't really fitting to what he wanted to play. So
we have got a tier coming in, presumably to make a blue buff. So maybe we are heading down that Renata route after all. Demo is telling us that they got a prismatic first augment in lobby 2. Yes! It's just that kind of day, I suppose.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm definitely wondering what mutant is, because I could imagine if it is synaptic, that the blue buff definitely will be coming in as it is, and maybe possibly going for the mutants, because that would explain the Caston 2 that's still sticking around, and the Rek'Sai. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to find out what mutant is in the course of the game.
All right, let's check in with Gagmo. I haven't seen them for a little while. They've been doing pretty well up against Adrian. So well, I guess we'll maybe get a chance. I think it's going to be Elderwood that we've got running for the mutants, going by the little effect on the Malzahar. So a bit of more defensive stats, a little bit more aggressive stats, but I guess, in this case here, it's not going to serve Adrian as well as they'd like up against the level 7 Gaga, who is on a very impressive winning streak.
somehow turning Yordles into a win streak machine here. I would definitely like to know how that is supposed to work, because that could be very helpful, because not just winning and obviously saving HP, but then also having the extra economy to force a very fast level 7 here. It's working out very well, and just well-slammed items, I must say, so far from him.
All right. I'm a genius, or possibly Ethan, Skellig is, because I've now fixed the scoreboard, or unbroken the scoreboard, so we can now confirm some of our players and how they've done in the previous lobbies. So Gaga. Where's Gaga in here? Oh yeah, that's right. Gaga took a first in their first lobby, and they seem to be well set up to perform well in their second as well.
Yeah. I mean, firstly, just give yourself and also Skellig a clap on the back for fixing it, because that will save us a lot of work. Yeah, and definitely Gaga looking very strong contender for one of the top spots, if not the very top spot for now. But I mean, it feels like, I mean, we've talked about it before, and it feels like a bit of a deja vu. Being so strong in the early game, sometimes for me, is always just a very good sign that you're going to just lose terribly in the late game and still end up being 7th or 8th. So obviously we hope that's not going to happen to any of our players, but it sometimes feels like it's just inevitable. So
I mean,
let's see.
honestly speaking, you know, if you're a player who've managed to hit first in our first couple of games, which would be D-Wolf and Gaga,
yeah,
I could definitely forgive a person like that for playing more of a top 4 style for the the rest of the competition. Just because you've got a lot more, you've got a lot more access to the top spots just by not having that one game when you go 8th.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree. I mean, it's strategically very clever. So yeah, completely understandable. Joker actually, as I somehow expected, because he didn't have that many talents, has now switched to a VIP Draven even, so ooh, possibly looking to contend for the top as well if he manages to get the Draven onto level 2. Also finding that on level 6, that is a considerable hit unit-wise, so yeah, good job on the rolling.
Crazy. All right, we'll see how they do. Certainly right now, Yucca's got a decent amount of money in the bank, but no streaks either way. Up against top of the table, Gaga. The Blitzcrank hook's not to do anything. Draven has got the 3 items. They're now holding well in the front line for now, but it's 2 frontliners against 4. Good throwback from the Syndra. We've still got the ramping up of the Corki. Draven going to effectively end up being 1 versus 3. I don't think they've quite got it, no.
I mean, it's very, very close, and I mean, still an insane amount of damage for a level 1 unit there. It's almost 6,500. And it's looking like he's possibly going to roll down now, maybe try and find the Draven 2, because, I mean, he has already conceived quite a lot of losses, but maybe also just going to slow roll down off of 50. But I think if he does get a Draven 2, as I said before, no, he's actually rolling down now, of course. Yeah, he'll be fairly strong.
Alright, so we do see the Jhin being picked up here, but of course we are staying in Debonair most likely. I suppose there is a world in which you just kind of throw away that Sir Rockman and say, I could be playing Debonair, but I'm choosing not to.
Yeah, well, I guess he doesn't need it necessarily, because a few patches back, Riot changed it that you have half of the original ignored armor also on the non-VIP Draven.
It's true.
So you don't necessarily need the VIP, but I'm thinking at the moment, like, why would you throw away the VIP bonus? Because he's got the heart, so he basically has at least the 3 Debonair for free, I would say.
So we do find out what happened to all those talents, which is that they're on the other side of the field being used by Seno Yue, or Seno Yu, who's currently on 70. So that's going to push Yerka further down. I mean, while Yuri is on 17 and very liable to go out early on, Pills, who's just above them, going up to level 7 right now, and also picking up the 2-star Tryndamere, we have not seen a lot of our whoopee friend Warwick reroll comp so far.
Yeah, it has fallen a bit out of favor, even though I have seen multiple games where it's still very strong, but it's also very augment dependent, I feel like. So if you don't hit the necessary augments, like, for example, Disintegrator or anything Chemtech related, then it can just get quite hard to play. And also Tryndamere got buffed, which is why he almost always is played over Warwick at the moment, I think.
I haven't been looking at that myself, but certainly Pills is trying it out here. Interesting choice there with the Ionic. But it gets the job done. Pills is on a bit of a rampage back through. A small thing I want to discuss, though, was the change of comp we've had from Yoka here. They've gone down from 5 Debonair to 3 and brought in 4 Clockwork as well. That is an idea I've been seeing discussed more and more, on the various different forums, as a sort of mid to late game idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's considerably stronger, obviously, once you have the third augment, because Clockwork, as many will know, scales with the amount of augments that you have. I think it goes up to then 60 plus 15% per augment on the third one. So altogether 105%, if I'm not mistaken, which is an insane amount of attack speed.
One of the things that always gets me is when my co-caster brings up something and then expects me to figure it out. But like, no, you brought it up, you figure it out. I'm like, no, I didn't even want to talk about this.
Yeah, I was thinking more about it, thinking out loud, say it that way. I wasn't expecting anything, so all good.
Oh, yeah. I'll get you for this one, Gadget. What we have got coming in, though, as we look towards our maybe coming up to Debonair 5 again for a level 8 comp, is Zeri coming in. So we've got the Sniper active as well. So we've got a good amount of backliners here going up against Yuri. But Yoka is still bleeding a ton in this game, and I don't know if that bleeding's going to stop in this round, because their front line just disappeared.
Yeah, well, got thrown to the back and, eaten by Mr. Kench himself, and his damage is now dead, so that is definitely a lost round here for Jerker. And we'll hope to hit a good augment now, and possibly some good items in the round after that, if he manages to survive the last fight before the Raptors.
All right, let's see what they go for. Portable 4 is going to be tempting. Back foot, they have got a whole bunch of backline units, so that's going to be very, very tempting as well. All the good options. As we've got Scrap, interesting Scrap coming in for Gaga up on the top of your screen and over on the far side. Mash going for, let's see, what did it end up being? Oh, the Zonya's Paradox for our good friend Kaiser. So, what do you think of our 3 players augments?
Scrap is definitely an interesting choice. Gargamel seems to sort of try and go that direction, and it feels like he may want to then transfer Draven's items later to a Jinx, possibly, and maybe that's why he went for the Scrap. Otherwise, I didn't see what his other augments were unfortunately. And considering the other 2 players, with the on items, you can never go wrong, right? It feels like all of those items are just in some sort of situation always strong. The Obsidian Cleaver for Zeri on Berserker, it's gonna shred the resistances of any team and make it considerably easier for him to delete them, as we can see now.
You still see the front line is a bit of an issue for Yerka. As again, Zeri would love a bit more time to work with. I do wonder if maybe, even with that Black Cleaver shred, if there's just not enough other damage coming through to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a feels bad moment when you have a level 1 carry. Unless it's maybe a 5 cost, then you could live with it for now. But yeah, Joker needs to find something fast and possibly consider whether he rather needs 4 Clockwork or 5 Debonair, or maybe then otherwise, instead of one of the Debonairs, bringing in another Enchanter maybe to add a bit more resistance to his front line, because as you identified correctly, his front line is just plopping and basically is non-existent.
Alright, Yucca, you've got one more chance to turn things around. Jajnanchi is your closest competition, ahead by 10. In fact, the bottom 3 are all relatively low. Pills is propping up the kind of top 5, as it were, with a slightly better performance. Adrian and Seno both looking decent along with the Wolf, but it's Gaga who's got the lion's share of the HP right now. Talking about people playing early and dropping off, it hasn't happened to Gaga yet.
No, he's found extremely good ways to transition here into the late game. Now using the 4 Challenger to buff up his carrier, which he has at the moment, which is the Draven, obviously. So be interested to see if he actually manages to hold it, because if you look at the board, to me it feels it's not super strong, but it just seems to be maybe a altogether fairly weak-ish lobby. So it's enough definitely for now. But the Tryndamere 3 definitely may be something that stops him. But for now, going to see if Joker actually manages to survive. It's looking fairly good for the moment and actually clutches it out.
Yeah, Chush, there we go. Their closest competition. It's the one that they survive against. So that's pretty great news if you can put one more person in a position to take that 8th ahead of you.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's just going to make it that much more exciting now for the bottom contenders. Once the damage dealt screen maybe disappears on Joker's side, we can see what the exact numbers are. But definitely Joker and Shushan looking at one-shots, no matter how many units they manage to kill. So yeah, be interested to see how they manage up going. D-Wolf hitting Lucian 3-star, if I just saw correctly. So unfortunately we don't have... Oh, do we have this POV? No, we don't know.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah. So that we shall see at a later stage, but for now, let's see if Joker can survive against Draven 2.
Oh, so my old friend, the carry that I've been looking for this whole time. Yeah, Draven 1 is struggling here, but this time at least we are getting a good amount of disruption. And unfortunately, the other Draven focuses down their opposite number and barely survives. Yucca, the end of the line. The only question is if Shushan actually managed to win or lose on that same round. And they did lose, but they lost by 1 less HP.
Yeah, unlucky there for Joker. Yeah, could have gone either way. Even had more HP, I think, than Shushan after beating her in the round before. So very unlucky indeed for him. But yeah, with that, we're down to 6. Our one random player in form of Senuo now at the bottom. And the rest of our contenders, the top 5. Gaga still unbeaten since the last time we looked at him, so definitely continuing a streak. But also, Yuri here, we're actually looking at right now, a very strong Kai'Sa, looking to keep a win streak against the Cho'Gath 3.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we haven't been seeing an absolute ton of mutants coming through, but when they're uncontested, rolling at 7, you're absolutely loving it. We've also got the Colossus plating here, which means the Cho'Gath's going to stay up even longer. At least there's the Morellos to be able to get that max HP damage, but I do not think Yuri's got enough time to work with.
Oh.
We do have the Zhonya's going off, and it's going to kill a decent amount of the board, putting it back to full health. Going to shoot again, and it's going to do it. Wow, it's the Zhonya's that gets the job done.
Insane value that you got off the Zhonya's there. Lost the aggro, managed to get another ult out and just healed up to full life. Even survived through the resistances of the item through a whole Cho'Gath 3 ult to ult again and win the whole round. Yeah. Good scenes here.
Absolutely bonkers. Alright, so Yuri grabbed themselves a static ship. Very interesting stuff. I'm starting to look through there and see that's going to even end up going on to.
I guess Kha'Zix maybe, or maybe on the Jace, just to sort of buff up his attack speed and getting the attack speed. Even though the Jace backline not getting a terrible amount of value here, because basically everyone who is in the backline will be jumping forward at some point or another.
Maybe that's why the static shiv, just to get the cast off before Kai'Sa leaves.
Yeah, and the blue buff as well, maybe just to get the speed gate or whatever it's called out quicker. And now it's even a Jace 2, so maybe we'll at some point consider maybe pulling it forward, but we shall see.
All right, up against Pills here, who has been doing the reroll. There's the our Tryndamere friend who's getting locked in place by being enforced, unfortunately, which is going to cut down a lot of the damage. Tryndamere is spinning around, but they're not getting close to dealing with what's being brought out by Yuri, and I think this will be the end for Pills as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the end of the line for my fellow German here, so commiserations to Pills. But this Jace...
Sorry, Pills isn't German. I know him myself.
Isn't? Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Just assumed that, so... my bad, but anyway, for my fellow beer, I guess then.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely the beer part. In that way, yeah. You're country folk. Volpi, thank you. Welcome to the stream. This is round number 2 of Canada's Casual Competition number 37. We'll be back in 2 weeks after this next. Well, sorry, 3 rounds total today, and then we'll be back 2 weeks afterwards. So if you feel like joining in, I feel like there should be a link in the stream, but. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, but I feel like Gaga still, by the way, hasn't lost any HP since the last time we looked at him. And looking forward to a possible battle between him and Yuri at some point, which should, no doubt be on its way. But for now, this Jace is just hammering away. Like, well, not necessarily hammering, but whatever you call his ranged version of his hammer.
I think it's still a hammer.
Yeah, I guess.
Hammer which you hold a different way.
Fair enough, but did actually get a big loss there. So Gargamel staying undefeated as the only person in lobby, and we're now down to the top 4. Seduo, our random player, is now out of contention as well. So we're sticking with Yuri, Adrian, D-Wolf, and Gargamel for the top 4.
Alrighty, so DK, talk to me about our 2 POV comps. What's there to like? What's there to be worried about?
Well, I'd be worried, or not worried, but lightly aggravated about the double last whisper that was on Yuri's Drake. I think it's not something that you maybe want to have.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, it's a double last whisper. Yeah.
That should not be possible.
I'm not. Right, please.
Wow, that. What?
Yeah, I haven't seen that before myself. That is definitely some weird coding, but yeah. Anyway, especially since.
Oh, what?
I guess he's basically got a weird separated version of the Obsidian Cleaver now, just in form of a static shiv and 2 last whispers on 2 different people now.
Yes. Volpe, the stuff for us casuals. I'm actually surprised there is. Yeah, for sure. I figured that there were some, there are large tournaments around which kind of cater to very competitive players. Whereas the reason this is a casual competition is because nearly all of the prizes are not based on how well you do. So you can come in and you can come in and try hard if you want to. We can't really account for that, but you won't miss out on most of the prizing just because you didn't come in first. Nearly everything is given out randomly at the end of the stream, which if you stick around you will see. Which will be to streamers, to a random player, and to people who give feedback on the competition. We go down to our top 2 though, with Gaga still in a dominating position. So Mash going out in 4th, Adrian in 3rd. It's our top 2.
Yeah, I now just realized why. I don't know why I thought it was Pids, but it's actually Yuri Jihad or Mash that had at the top right the follower animation that was in German. That's why I was thinking that someone was German.
I thought Pills was maybe like in German it meant something.
Yeah, well, it means basically like a pint of beer, right? It's just a type of beer, I guess, in Germany. So that's why I was thinking that. So at least I know now why I was all thinking that someone was German. So, but anyway, getting down to business.
There's plenty of German players around. You definitely do not need to worry about finding enough country folk there. Up against D-Wolf. So these are our top 2. We have got a Draven on a timer here. He will explode just before getting the job done.
Yeah, it's looking like we're going to have a very contended heads up here. I was saying that, and Kaiser 2 gets it. With actually, if I'm not... I think I'm assuming correctly that all those items that Kaiser has were from the Drake that... who are we watching?
Gaga.
Gargamel. The Gargamel had on his Drake, so quite a nice find to get the Kaiser 2 to add those items onto.
Nice. And there we go. I'm always a little bit worried whenever I put on something like a Shrouded Stillness on a positioning dependent unit, which is also positioning dependent on your other units. Because it's a lot of work for Gaga to reposition, but they've managed to do it here against D-Wolf. They got, everything they could have asked for. We'll see how well the 2-star Kaiser ends up doing, because the front line is getting all kinds of blown up. Gaga, even being a level ahead and with the 2-star Kaiser, still can't catch a break.
Yeah, D-Wolf is looking insanely strong right here now, because if I saw correctly, he does not have not just the Lucian 3 that I shouted out before, but also the Gangplank 3, Senna 3, and one other unit, I think. Whether it was the Morgana, I'm not sure. But I guess we'll see in a second when they face each other. But D-Wolf definitely looking here to possibly get 2 firsts in a row, which obviously sets him up very well for round 3.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So, again, just for Volfi's benefit, there we go. This is Debonair 3 coming in. So if you come in first in the competition, you get a little legend egg as a kind of sort of nominal prize for coming in, and we'll also give out a little legend egg to someone random. But the RP prizes are all available for pretty much anybody taking part, particularly if you are a streamer, because we always, without a spectator mode, the only way we can show this is with people's streams. So D-Wolf against Gaga. Do you think Gaga can find a way through a super strong D-Wolf comp?
I mean, it's rough. I mean, the Debonair may help now that Draven can sort of assist the Kai'Sa, and it's looking actually pretty good for him right now because the Draven is still untouched and has enough frontline standing, so I'm pretty sure Gaga is actually going to win this round, which is basically putting everything up in the air now, even though I feel like it may just be a question of correct positioning now for D-Wolf. Maybe just has to surprise Gaga a bit, because as you said quite rightly, putting Shroud of Stillness on Silco that also has positioning aspects in front of him, it's quite rough. And also having the Zeke's Herald, like Gaga has to do like 10 more moves, it feels like, than D-Wolf, and that is obviously quite hard in a heads-up situation.
That's why I think that's why you're seeing them switching everything around at the end there. So they're going to adjust very slightly, but not the entire comp. A little bit of change around. D-Wolf, we'll see if they do any better here. I have to wonder with the VIP coming in for the Debonair Draven, just, you know, what a DPS increase that must be, that he doesn't have to move from his spot because of his increased range.
Yeah, doesn't have to move. Obviously shreds a bit more of the resistances, which especially against level 3 units with more HP is good, but it's looking very close here. The Silco buff maybe being enough to survive. Nope.
Oh what boy!
I am really not sure how or if to call this at the moment. Like, I couldn't. Can you?
I mean, I think a lot of it is going to swing on what comes out of the Herald here. So for Gaga, this is pretty much not the only thing they're kind of really not looking for here is another carry item or another semi-carry item. Because we've already got a fully equipped Draven, we've already got a fully equipped Kai'Sa. I don't really know where else this goes, and if D-Wolf finds something relevant, surely that's going to swing things back the other way.
Yeah, if I saw correctly, it was the Edge of Night on D-Wolf's side, which potentially also isn't necessarily what we want. I think they're both more looking for maybe some more frontline or utility items rather than carry items. But Edge of Night does have the defensive aspect in that you drop the aggro when you drop under 40% HP. So, yeah, possibly something that could help more than just a static shift here for Gaga.
Well, in the change of pace, D-Wolf has managed to slam in a 3-star Vex off screen. So while we have got a 2-star Jace coming to join the field, we now have Debonair Jinx in as well. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but D-Wolf can't afford to take the L here. We are in stage 7. I think that should kill them if they lose.
Yeah. I'm feeling like he did change up with his positioning, that he didn't get everything hit by the Shroud, so let's see if that makes a difference here. It's looking fairly good for him right now, but the Draven also still untouched once again.
Oh boy, yeah, oh, wait a second. Last shot in, and Gaga takes the L down to 15. It's the duel of fates. Only one gets to survive through and take first place. As you said before, you know, while we are only in round 2, particularly for D-Wolf, you know, getting that second win in is almost certainly going to cement their victory unless game 3 goes appallingly. Yeah,
I mean, it's actually for both of them, because both of these players placed first in the first round, so it's actually the duel or clash of titans for the anime fans out there. So this may decide a lot. Well, then I chose the right thing to say, but let's see how this duel goes. He's completely changed around the positioning, moved the Draven to the other side, but actually still gets thrown up by the Gnar. So well played by D-Wolf to get the Zephyr on there, and may have now a much better chance. Even though the Draven will stay untouched, he's just not going to ramp up as fast.
I don't think the damage compares between the Lucian 3 and even the Draven 2. I think D-Wolf is surely going to take the L here. They're going to, I think, die? Yes. Yeah. It's not going to be by much, but it will be enough for Gaga to take their second first place and put themselves in pole position to win the competition. Yeah,
insanely close fight. I was not expecting that. It felt like for the longest time, Gaga was ahead by a mile of the whole lobby. And then somehow D-Wolf came out of nowhere with all his 3-star units. I felt like he was super strong, and then positioning came into play, and actually I must just say very well played, obviously by both players, but especially by Gaga with all the positioning that he had to do there in the end. Yeah, just very well played. I would not be able to do that much positioning, and my brain would absolutely fry.
So we have got a couple of POVs on the other lobby. Oh no, wait, actually, it might still be going. Please do not be disappointed, gentle friends, if this is not the case. But we'll have a quick look and see if anybody is streaming lobby number 2, which of course was our prismatic lobby. No, it looks like it's done. So in which case, our players are inputting the results right now. Oh, no, I can hear myself on that stream. But yes, so that means we'll be taking a final break of around 7 minutes or so before we come back with the final round. For any of our players who are watching, the feedback survey will be posted in the Discord, and that's one of the ways that you can win some of our Rick's GG prizes. Again, Rick's GG, of course, providing the bulk of our prizing, so please to go follow them on twitter.com/ricksgg_. For now, though, we'll be headed to break. When we return, the final round, and we shall have ourselves a champion. Welcome back, one. Welcome back, all, to the final round of Canada's casual competition. I'm here with DeeKayIronside and Mr. Ironside.
Yes.
And assuming that's not, not your father. What do you think of what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very high contention few rounds, having the people who placed first in both their rounds ending up being the top two in our second round of the first table. Now, obviously, respectively, also being in the last lobby together. So it's going to be maybe once again a fight between these two giants, or maybe one of our other contenders surprises us and shakes up the standings a little bit, because for now, from what I can see, the best chances definitely go to Gaga and D-Wolf going into this third round.
Let's take a quick look at lobby number 2 from our previous one, which is being played off stream. Yes. So there, Storm won the entire thing with Zelda coming in behind and Demonized as well. We saw 3-star Ari making it through to smash up absolutely everything. That's... Wow. Let's say that's probably actually more terrifying than the 3-star Sivir we saw before.
For sure. I mean, I think she does something ridiculous like 20 orbs after the first cast or something like that. It's just insane compared to, slightly more attack speed, say, in the former Sivir. So definitely the more spicy unit, I would say. And if I just saw correctly in the glimpse of the screenshot, Brizu again being quite highly contested. Definitely a few unlucky rounds for him today.
Oh yes, no kidding. You're right. In fact, yes, they had themselves some twin shots they were trying to work with there.
Yeah.
It's Bizzo definitely not having a good day today, but that's the whole thing with TFT, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
I always try and get to the point of the thing you're kind of always hoping for as a player is you can get to the point of being, I am specifically not judging this on how well I'm doing it. I'm judging it on how well I make the decisions that get me to that point. And if if you feel like you made the right decisions and you still lost, then you kind of can't. Well, ideally you don't regret it at that point, because the idea of regretting making the right choices would probably indicate you to then start making the wrong choices.
Yeah, I mean, main thing for me also, just in general, is having no regrets. That's always a good thing to live by, in my opinion. So as long as that's the case, all good. So let's hope that is the case for Bizu as we go into our final round of TFT for today.
All right, so as I said, Gaga in top position with D-Wolf TFT just behind. Adrian being the closest challenger to those two dominations with 13 points. Everybody else, Storm, Zelda, Demonized, and Yuri on 11 points, with Pills, the last one, I believe, just getting into lobby 2 on 10 points. So we'll see if Pills does well there. They might be able to leapfrog their way up. I'm trying to think, if Pills got first and Gaga got last, then we might see a surprise leap from table 2, but that's not normally how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking back to our last regular TFT tournament, which was, I think, pretty much exactly a month ago, if I am not incorrect. Something around that time. And there we had an insane last game where the standings just completely went in a completely different direction and ended up being a draw on the top 2, which then was won by the person who won the last lobby. So it didn't get any closer than that, and obviously that's something you always hope for, especially from the broadcast point of view. So it's definitely a good look so far, and still fairly close to the top players, not just players. There are still Storm, Adrian, and Zelda, possibly coming back maybe with the Caitlyn again, but Gagamar actually looking towards the Caitlyn for now. And at least, we don't have an instant prismatic lobby so far. It's just a gold augment for now.
Well, I mean, last time we were down in the silver augments, so definitely a lot less influential than they could have been otherwise. So let's check around and see what we've got here. So Three's Company being brought out for Gaga in the early going. A bit of an eclectic mix, including a couple of misfortunes on the bench. Also Malzahar, also Zac. No clear direction as of yet. Apart from maybe snipers?
Yeah, definitely looking like bodyguard snipers for now. Possibly also the Misfortune becoming the carry, maybe opting for the Shojin on Misfortune 1 instead of Caitlyn 2. Also an interesting choice, but maybe since there's already a second Misfortune, hoping to get that 2 as soon as possible. But for now, a lot of people also having some form or a few mutant units, at least Gargamel and Demonized. Demonized actually playing the full mutants already. And I'm trying to see if one can see what type of mutants it is. It's definitely not Metamorphosis this time. The Elderwood trait, it's looking like... Yeah, I don't know. You can't see it. I don't know what I was trying to guess what it was. But yeah.
It's one of the ones you can't see, at least.
One of the ones you can't see. Yeah, well, it's also, not the... Oh, yeah, perfect. Synaptic. The good old Synaptic.
So, let me tell you a story about Synaptic and how in the European finals, we had lobbies where they had 5 different players running Synaptic because it was that ridiculous. It didn't necessarily work out well for all of those players, but we're in an interesting situation here where we've got Meditation combined with Synaptic, and I wonder if we might end up seeing some sort of odd setup with not actually itemizing the Malzahar just because you're going to end up being able to cast faster that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's for now definitely insanely strong because most people won't slam their item straight away, apart from possibly Gargamel himself, otherwise, who slammed just in the second lobby his item straight away. But having these more or less multiple casts easily for Malzahar and also for the Syndra usually would be super strong, but in this case, the Striker emblem and possibly an early 4 Striker, I'm not sure, from Adrian seem to be stronger.
I mean, it certainly makes a lot of sense to get that ability on the board as Scholar comes in as well. So we're now hitting mana reduction or enhancement 3 different ways for the composition: Mutant, Scholar, and the Meditation as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if... So we're kind of getting into the sort of situation before where we've seen where people would actually try and build buff items specifically just to avoid actually itemizing their carries and finding ways to indirectly give them stats with, with buff items, with traits, for example, like Arcanist. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but I'm intrigued to see.
Yeah, I mean, there is a possibility of multiple Zeke's Herald with the 2 BF swords that are on his bench, so that is an option, even though the attack speed per se, just in general, gives him faster ults, so you would rather prefer to have multiple Chalices of Harmony to buff the power of the ability itself. If you do go that direction, yeah.
With the weak point there, it took me quite a long time to realize the weak point is kind of like a healing reduction augment rather than what it presents itself as, as a pump up your physical damage augment.
Yeah, I mean, it's strong for both. Like the combination of the 2 stats is obviously quite strong, and also since AD comps don't necessarily have like Morello's in, it's just an easier way to apply the heal reduction over the whole team, like especially with the Senna, as it was with now for Storm. She just shoots her ult through the largest amount of enemies possible, which gives you quite a lot of value out of the weak spot.
So again, remember that Gaga and D-Wolf are players who are keeping the closest eyes on. Both of them are on 96. They're not undefeated in stage 2. Cookie Monster, who is our random player, currently at the bottom of the table, so we'll also watch out if they're doing anything shenanigans-wise. We've spent a while with Deep Noise. Where would you like to go next, Gaga or Mash?
Give me some Mash, my fellow German. Get him on screen here.
All right.
Opting for the Yordles here. Definitely a very solid economy already, but does seem to also want to go in the direction of the Synaptic mutants with the Malzahar already having blue buff and Morello's. Blue buff traditionally was built always on Malzahar, now only usually when you have the Synaptic trait, because then you get the very low mana. Otherwise, you usually have a Shojin on him these days. So that's why I'm thinking he definitely wants to go, at least for now, in the direction of the mutants.
I do like that we've got the Yordles in here as well to kind of help pump up that ability to get to those high levels a little bit faster. We've got the 3 Yordles in, and they're mostly being sold off as they come in to provide a bit of extra economy. Company at level 5 looking pretty decent for themselves, so let's keep on moving and see what else we can gather.
Yeah.
Of course, Gagamo, in line to potentially be tournament champion, doing something a little bit reminiscent of what we saw in a previous game with the Caitlyn, but this time with the Misfortune.
Yeah, indeed. Even got 2 Misfortunes, if I saw correctly, on the field so far, so struggling a bit to find enough units, it seems, or maybe doing it on purpose. Yeah, definitely should be strong enough, I think, for Storm. Saying that, I just realized the center is also 2 already, so that may become a problem. But no, Caitlyn just denied that completely and one-shot her.
Oh my gosh, I definitely think that Caitlyn's going to be one of those units I remember from the set as being, you know, a really sort of defining unit and just in how outsized of an impact she'll have, particularly in a sniper-based composition. But Gaga, I mean, you're right. I also think this is a surprising setup here, but it's working pretty darn well. They're the only one win streaking coming into stage 2, though it's not a perfect win streak. It's certainly, outside of that first round loss, everything's been going their way.
Yeah, for sure. I think so far, so it looked like many people actually decided for economy options in the gold augment, so that may be the reason why Gaga isn't struggling, because usually if you opt for like 3 as company or any other economic augment, you may struggle against the ones who have taken combat stats instead. But that doesn't seem to be so much the case. And also Misfortune early, like when you have not so many units and they're usually grouped up to protect certain units, definitely works very well.
All right, so there's a level up, looking to keep hold of that win streak coming into stage 3. We'll be going up against Zelda and Demonoids, or one of the two. Potentially Adrian as well, so a tough field for Gaga to face up against. Makes sense, they want to be as strong as they can be.
Yeah, if I just saw correctly, Adrian is also going for the Ashe. I'm not sure actually whether it was Adrian or D-Wolf, but we shall see, because that is Adrian now, so it wasn't Adrian actually. Adrian has the Striker, and also, wow, that is a strong Jhin for this early in stage 3 with a Quicksilver and Striker emblem, and I'm guessing 4 Striker, yeah. That is a very strong Jhin, but apparently no match for Caitlyn and the MFs.
I'm honestly pretty shocked that went as well as it did, but hey, all credit to Gaga. Certainly seems to know exactly what they're doing, navigating through into stage 3 pretty darn well. So,
yeah,
Zelda Love is still, in a pretty strong position to contest them. Also on 96, Storm and Cookie Monster, as well as D-Wolf down there towards the bottom, having taken the biggest hits early on. So we've got a little bit of an adjustment. We'll be seeing a slightly better holder of the Frozen Heart.
Yep, slightly better holder and possible second carry to help the MF dealing damage, but nope, actually switching out for the MF again. So, yeah, quite an interesting game so far, and our 2 highest contenders for the top spot quite far apart for now, D-Wolf being almost at the very bottom and Gaga at the top.
So Demonoids with our mutant friends, they actually went for exactly what we were talking about before. They've got the ice cream cone meditation setup. This is something I've certainly been doing myself just because I thought it was a kind of fun idea. I didn't know it was actually a viable idea.
Yeah, the cone is stronger than people may originally think, because it just also depends sometimes. You just have those games where you get like 1 million tears and 1 million cloaks, and you end up doing something else, but the cones actually work out very well, especially obviously in combination with meditation. Makes a lot of sense. And if you have maybe Arcanist in there, like a standard vertical Arcanist comp, basically just playing Arcanist, then yeah, you don't really need extra items and just benefit from these augments a lot. So yeah, definitely playing to the augments, which seems to be like the way to go anyway this set. And if you don't, then you sort of struggle a bit. So looking good.
So Gaga losing out on their win streak as the last round means that nobody is win streaking. Well, I suspect that Zelda probably is off screen. Let's keep rotating around and see what else is up. So Demonoids, so with the ice cream cones, I really want to call it the cone of shame, but I kind of feel like that only really works if it's particularly overpowered in a particular patch.
Yeah. I think statistically I read something about it being one of the strongest items this set, which surprised me a lot, and also led me, similar to you, to sort of try it out a bit. Yeah, and it has mixed results. I mean, you really need the augments to go with it, otherwise it just makes more sense to build the actual items that you need on your carries. So
it's tricky, isn't it? I know that certainly TFT in this, half set in particular, I suppose in the set overall, has really become a thing of, do you know enough sort of strategies to take you through all of these sort of one-off situations that come up, like meditation has been here, where it's like, this is only going to come up like one in maybe 20 games, and if you know how to play it, then that sort of line of players open to you that may not be open to other players.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. It feels like you need to know a lot more. You have to be a lot more versatile these days, whilst at the same time, I feel like this set in comparison to other sets, like late game pivoting isn't really a thing. So you're not necessarily flexible per se, but you need to have more options in your head from the get-go to choose the right path to go from the start.
So something I'm noticing here actually for Demonized, and we'll see in a second once I go back to the board, is, we were talking about this whole ice cream cone idea of bringing in the Chalice of Power. They've had, I believe, those 2 swords and a bow on their bench for pretty much the whole game.
It was the first 3 items that he got, I think, because I remember saying something about possible 2 Zeke's Heralds coming in with the BFs that he had. So yeah, he has literally been going for tiers and cloaks in the carousels only, it seems. And those are actually items that you quite often get even at the higher position in the lobby, because usually people firstly go for like AP, AD, attack speed, like the more offensive items, and only later in the game maybe opt for like the possible chalices to sort of round out their item pool.
Oh, I really like that point there. It seems strange, the idea of not bringing out these cloaks to at least make use of our friend Kha'Zix, who's doing a lot of hopping, but I wonder if you might be able to do how the damage sort of graph would compare there between I've got more mana, so I'll cast more frequently, but each of those casts are doing less damage.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Synaptic, right? Like, it doesn't even need that much mana. Like, I think with 3 mutants, you have 20 mana less. He starts with 40 otherwise, so he has 20 mana and needs 2 auto attacks without any sort of mana regen. So I'd agree with you, but he must have some sort of plan for the ADs that he still has on his bench. So let's just assume there's some sort of genius master plan behind this.
Oh no, I mean, I'm always going to see that. Demonized is a ton better than I am. I mean, I mainly criticize just so I can be completely wrong. So let's keep looking around. Let's keep ourselves abreast of what's happening. So Mash currently in the middle of the table. Cookie Monster and XY Storm 3210 both down in the 40s. So there's a big divide between the top 6 and the bottom 2. Let's see, who have we got here?
This is Mash against, I'm thinking, Adrian, because he had the Center 2. So I think that must be Adrian.
The binary airdrop in here for Yuri.
Yeah.
What's your stance on binary at the moment? Outside of the sort of the normal excessive use cases like scrap. In this case, this is just the sort of generic usage of it.
I feel like it's good as long as you get it as first or second augment, because I've had it sometimes in my pool, like in the 3rd augment, and then it's really bad because usually by then you've slammed at least on 1 unit 3 items in the late game, so then you sort of just lost the chance to use it properly. But since you got it fairly early, Yuri should be able to make a lot of this. Doesn't need a 3rd item on Malzahar or in his frontline units, so can sort of just go for a bit of extra RNG in the already quite RNG mode of TFT.
Aha! All the more for the taking. Zelda in top space. Adrian just behind them on 82 right now with Demonized on the same amount of HP, but not a win streak, crucially. Gaga in 4th, and of course our POV Mash here in 5th, who definitely seems like they are headed for the mutants as well, as long as they can actually find them. Get up to level 7 is going to make that a lot easier.
Yep, as you just say it, he hits the Malzahar too, which is definitely going to help. It's going to be interesting to see. I feel like there's at least 2 or 3 people going for mutants at the moment. Like, it was Demonized and Mash, and I'm not sure whether I saw someone else. And seeing that Ari, obviously, possible way to go for Synaptics is also getting a mutant emblem on Ari. And I'm fairly sure I saw someone in this lobby who had a mutant emblem. So that's probably what they will be looking for. I think it's actually on Yuri's POV right now. He's playing against them, or I'm not sure. No, it's definitely yeah, the mutant emblem on the Seraphine. Yeah.
There we go. So I mean, this is the whole thing at the EU finals. Was, you don't need to get anything more than a Malzahar 2 to have this entire setup work for you.
Yeah.
But you're right. Presumably whoever gets the mutant emblem in the game, assuming that it is possible to get one, is gonna have a much stronger late game.
Yeah, for sure. Like, providing one can find the unit, like, it's not always so easy, unfortunately, to find the 4-cost unit that you need. But there are many viable options for that mutant emblem. Like, it's not just the Ari. You can also think of using a possible Victor in the late game just to get the ult out faster. Like, there's so many options, and as you say, just very flexible in the late game. Getting that mutant emblem, also getting you faster to the breakpoint of the 5 mutants, which is in the Synaptic comp also quite important.
So interesting setup here for Yuri. It looks like they're trying to go for the mutant 5 earlier than they would have otherwise, because otherwise they're going to need to find themselves a Kaiser. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a mutant Spatcher in their future. There we go. They're up against Adrian. Adrian is on a win streak, and what's that in the corner? Could it be our friend Sivir?
Yeah, I can't remember. Was it Adrian who said they didn't want to play Sivir? I can't
No, that was D-Wolf who said they weren't going to play Sivir, and then played a 3-star Sivir.
Yeah, okay. Well, at least it's not D-Wolf then, but the Striker emblem looking fairly strong. I actually felt like the Jhin was a very good idea, because Jhin obviously profits a lot from AD. But yeah, seems to have decided to rather go for some sort of Socialite Striker variant, putting the Striker emblem on the Seraphine. Yeah, interesting to see what Yuri decides to do here now. Possibly taking out the Kassadin and then putting in the 2-star Alistar for the Blitzcrank. Yeah. I am also always quite scared of using 2 Colossi. I'm just going to call them that.
Colossi.
Colossi.
The Colossi is generally the term.
Colossi. Okay, yeah, okay. I had the right letters, just didn't pronounce it right. Let's roll with that.
Yes. It's not exactly something that comes up in regular day-to-day conversation, though, to be fair.
Yeah. I don't talk about Colossi that much otherwise in real life, I must say. So.
I mean, you're missing out, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But getting back to the point, it's obviously always a very big investment, right? Using 2 units that use 2 spots each. So having a maximum of 6 units on level 8, or 5 units now on level 7. Always a big investment, but so far looking okay-ish, even though it was a fairly close fight. But Adrian and Demonized both on a win streak, and looking very strong in comparison to the rest of the lobby, which are all sub 50 HP.
Alright, we'll keep an eye on what Demonized is up to, because yes, both of them win streaking, both of them looking very, very good. I believe that Adrian's got a little bit more ground to make it up. Yes. So Adrian coming to this one on 13 points, needs to make sure that, that we don't have Demonized. Well, sorry. So Demonized came in on 11. Adrian came in on 13. Both of them need for Gaga and D-Wolf to do badly to stand a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh dear. This is getting out of hand a bit, I think. Possibly.
No, there's also 3 of them.
No, there's 3 of them, and also the Bai 2. Bai also a very good user of the Synaptic Mutant, just as a side note. But yeah, that Malzahar is going to be dealing an insane amount of damage with the triple Chalice of Harmony, and also finally Demonized has used his 80 items to itemize the Kha'Zix, so his ults will be indeed doing a fair amount more damage. And at the same time, we're now seeing Garrett's perspective a bit more from the bottom side of the table, apparently going for some variant of the Renata Bruiser comp, which I personally quite enjoy playing myself.
Yeah, I like it as well. And we're seeing here, this is we're seeing a specific counter of what Adrian is putting out here, which is, of course, the Triangle of Death, which is just, shoving everybody around Sivir with the Quicksilver. Traditionally, there's no way to access her because, you can't land on her with assassins. You can't, see her, but Renata gives that way in that she can fire across the entire squad at once.
Indeed, and we're actually getting a prismatic augment in the last one. It was
Oh,
quite
boy.
a prismatic day so far, and it's ending that way, at least in this lobby. Yeah, this could be a big turn on everything and anything, so things may be quite up in the air now, Counter.
Alright, well, there's no better way than to end a prismatic day with a showing of prismatic potential. So down at the bottom, we've got Cookie Monster still holding on. Zelda, who was doing pretty well coming into this one, I believe. Yeah, currently in 5th place on 11 points. Is in a little bit of peril here. Let's see, so Gaga and D-Wolf, those are the ones we're most concerned about. D-Wolf, mid-table. Gaga, our POV player, also in the mid. So very much up in the air as to where they finish.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Gaga's looking insanely strong now, though he's got the Renata 2, which is always for me like the point that you need to hit if the Renata comp is going to be successful. And adding to that, the Battle Mage Prismatic version, which gives 50 AP, I think, for the first 2 rows. So yeah, this should be a fairly strong point now for Gaga, and this Mutant comp should actually be no problem whatsoever for him, I think.
So one thing I've kind of forgot about before, we are seeing both players with binary airdrops against each other here. Renata doesn't have the Morellonomicon, which she did have in the previous round, which of course was perfect. But that's not going to be a guarantee going forward, and I think that might make it hard for her to bust through some of these mega tanks.
Yeah, Renata's damage is definitely going to fall off now, but the Dragon's Claw is definitely going to help the Vi in this situation in the fight, and not even close. I mean, I was just thinking, I just absolutely called that completely wrong. But of course, yeah, I was luckily right in the end, even though it was closer than I would have expected, I must admit.
Demon Eyes is here for the mega cast from Synaptic. Oh boy, I think in 3 of the EU games, we got Synaptic. Like, I think it was like, it might have been 3 of them in a row or something. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, it was getting to the point. I mean, it was not just like the EU finals in general, which were a joy to watch, by the way, but also just like all games, like everyone playing, yeah, any level of TFT was just getting so sick of mutants, because every game, it felt like Synaptic came at every second game, and then 5 people are playing it. So basically, it's just whoever can hit Malzahar 2 first, wander around. So yeah, quite frustrating. Happy that time is over, but yeah. Also nice to see that despite the nerfs, it still can find some sort of effect in these games as well and isn't completely dead, because yeah, in TFT we live from the variance of plays, right? And it would just be boring if everyone would be playing mutants.
Oh gosh, yes. So we've got Hex Tech there for Gaga, which could...
Wow.
I'm curious to see where that ends up going. Not actually going to be used going up against D-Wolf here, so this is going to be a pretty big round for the both of them. Striker Emblem coming in, and we've seen what that can do for you.
Not just the emblem, my friend.
Oh no, it's the crown. You're right.
Both. Because the emblem wasn't enough. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wait, they've got 3 different... Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't even think there is an 8 striker that you can even access, but that is pretty gross.
There is not 8 strikers, but I mean, the glory of strikers in that case is that still the units just get 120 AD for free. So it's definitely not a bad thing to have more than 6 strikers, even though obviously you want to have a few other units in, and in this case, D-Wolf opting for the slightly more defensive version of the Sivir comp with 4 scrap in there as well to add a bit of shielding in, which was slightly nerfed in the last patch, but still very good in my opinion. And Gaga has decided he has had enough and is pushing for level 9, hoping probably to get his Tahm Kench, who he's been frequently feeding, not in the League of Legends sense of things, but actually feeding. Yeah, just trying to get that Tahm Kench 2 to possibly have a second carry next to the Renata, whilst being quite tanky as well.
Did you see Gargoyles hesitating for a second about the idea of putting the Hextech Gunblade onto Tahm Kench? Certainly at 2, that would be pretty darn strong, but of course it would be wasting the binary airdrop as well. So we'll see. Certainly it's good enough to actually beat up Demon Eyes, not just a little bit, but by a long way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, pushing level 9, now having 5 Chemtech, 4 Bruiser, looking pretty good. The Colossi not having that much of a fun time against what it seems like also some form of a Sivir comp. So, yeah. A lot of mutants, a lot of Sivirs so far, as that's what I'm summarizing from this lobby. And just as we expected, things are shifting around a lot. Like the top, which was originally like 30 points ahead, is now more or less even, and D-Wolf standing strong with his 48 HP, which he hasn't lost in quite a few rounds now.
We do have Victor coming into Gargar's lineup, and it looks like they have got it in mind that they're going to be trying to set up for another binary airdrop with the 3 item components they've got. I haven't apparently decided on who that's going to be right yet, but I have to imagine that's going to be Victor to reinforce up against XY Storm here, who could be going out in this round, even with Gargar having 3 components on the bench.
Yeah, this comp is just looking very strong right now. I could also imagine that Kai'Sa maybe is something else that one wants to bring in as extra damage instead of the Victor, actually. But I guess it depends what he may find. But yeah, unfortunately, it's looking like Storm's road is at an end here. So commiserations to Stormy. Yeah, and now going into sort of like the closing third, I would say, of our last round. Yeah, interesting to see in which direction it is going to go. Yuri at the moment the most endangered with the 13 HP. So maybe nice to have a look in here. The Colossi, as I said, sometimes a bit too much of an investment. Whether that is the actual case at the moment, I don't know. But also just doesn't seem to be finding the units that he may want. Having a Renata in there without Scholar is also...
Well, the big thing is we don't have Mutant 5, I suppose. You know, that's the big one where you start to go really crazy, and
yeah,
they're completely out of cash. I mean, level 8 is fine. Okay, so that's Mutant 4. So what are we missing here? Kha'Zix?
Kha'Zix or Kassadin, either or, are the ones that are missing. And yeah,
we could have that right now.
Could possibly. Victor, I would not recommend at this point without any items.
Giant Slayer. Yeah, we're in an awkward position here where the I kind of feel like the Giant Slayer is good enough to just throw in anyway. Oh wow, Rabadon's coming in for Yuri. This might be what gets them across this particular line up against our friends in Renataville, who are tearing through. They've got themselves a very good Renata item set up to be able to play the long game.
Yeah, definitely. Even though it's looking not that bad so far for Yuri, I mean, Kai'Sa should cast one more time, but it will not be enough, and this may be the end of the road. Sejuani actually dies, so he survives, actually. If that's right, Sejuani wouldn't have died, he would have been dead. But now, surviving, but we lost our random Cookie and Zelda, unfortunately, so unlucky for them. Now adding in Socialite, actually, with the Galio instead of Alistar. Interesting way to go. Also, a possibility would be to take out Colossi completely and go for the 5 assassin, but I'm not sure whether Yuri oversaw the assassin there. Kha'Zix, sorry, but yeah, either way wasn't the way that he wanted to go.
All right, so Yuri, one more chance up here against, of course, our friends in the Sivir Comp Factory. This doesn't seem like one of the ones where the mutants should have as much trouble with, but there is a lot of shielding and only a limited amount of time to get through it before Sivir just kills everybody by default.
Yeah, which seems to be right about now, Counter, unless Kai'Sa gets an amazing ulti and actually will survive this against D-Wolf himself. I think, no, it's actually D-Wolf just spectating. It was against Adrian, in fact. But yeah, one of the 2 top contenders in this lobby. So yeah, it was definitely a good roll of items. I think also with the Rabadons on Kai'Sa, you won't have that every round, so definitely should try and still get a tiny bit stronger, possibly getting rid of the Colossi, or maybe the Renata just to get that 5 mutant in and have a few more ults on Malzahar and also Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I could easily see that Giant Slayer and maybe even the Redemption, honestly, going on to the Kha'Zix just to get him, you know, having the binary airdrop in. We've already got the healing from the Celestial Blessing, and of course, that's going to benefit the entire team. So we'll see another Kha'Zix. Certainly, it seems like the Fates want to send us that way, but no, we're not. Oh, we're going to wait. What, really?
That's an interesting choice. Yeah.
Well, we're just switching up everything here.
Oh yeah, Scrapyard also in there. So complete new set of items here. Deciding possibly to put a Shojin or a Morelos on Kai'Sa, I'm guessing. Zeke's, yeah. Okay, no Morelos at all. Also good. But yeah, in the end, did decide to get rid of the Colossi and go for the 5 mutant. Gets in the Morellos, in fact, actually on the Kaiser roll, so definitely having a good amount of luck on those. But now facing another mutant player who has a Kha'Zix too with fairly good items, and will be, I think, struggling to win this unless the Kaiser completely deletes everything again. But no, in this case, not enough. Demonize kicking out Yuri, and now our top 4 standing. D-Wolf and Gaga are still here, but Demonize and Adrian are looking to spoil the party for those two, even though I'm not sure with all of them in the top 4 whether they're actually dethronable from the top 2, D-Wolf and Gaga.
I would have to think probably not. Let's see. So Adrian is their closest competition.
Yeah.
So I think would need them to at least take 3rd and 4th. Otherwise, all they're doing is fighting for 1st place amongst themselves.
Yeah. Definitely feels like there's a high possibility, though, of some sort of draw coming out in the end. So maybe winning the lobby will be the most important factor. So keep an eye on that. But so far, yeah, we're looking into Gaga. We haven't seen in a long time, but that Victor definitely, in the end, getting the items as you suggested, quite rightly. And I think killing Demonized in this case and throwing him up contention. So D-Wolf and Gaga, so far, still the top 2, as in the last 2 rounds. So
yeah, that's actually a really bad news to kill Demonized there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's ever a world in which you intentionally, weaken your board to try and prevent that from happening. Because, now Demonize is out, then your chances, if you're Adrian, are just, 0.
Yeah, definitely. Adrian has to go first now here to change anything in the standings, for sure. And even then, I think whoever of D-Wolf and Gaga comes second will actually end up winning. But yeah, the results we shall see in due course. But for now, we are seeing the Clash of the Titans, as it seems to be the theme of today, of D-Wolf and Gaga playing against each other. And the Tahm Kench 2, for which he went 9, is coming in clutch and eating everything in sight.
Adrian is gone. We will have ourselves a duel once more, gentle friends. It will be 1-on-1 between Gaga and D-Wolf. Our 2 top players coming in, our 2 top players leaving.
Indeed. Demonized, therefore, definitely being dethroned today as our previous champion. So we will be crowning a new one, either D-Wolf or Gaga. And in the end, surprised at how strong this actually ended up being for Gaga, because he was struggling in the early, went down very low, and D-Wolf had a very strong mid game, holding at 48 HP for quite a long time. And now, it just seems they like fighting each other. I mean, you can't see it any other way, I think, otherwise I can't explain this, but they seem to be enjoying themselves, and these striker emblems are blinding me.
It's truly ridiculous. It has been a day to go on strike, absolutely. D-Wolf, both of them on level 9. The Victroll is good, but guess who's bigger? Guess who's stronger? It's the Sivir. And down to 4 HP and a dream. Can Gaga find a way to recover?
Yeah, I mean, this is a rough spot. I think the Renata Cup maybe just needs too long to kill everything, and Sivir with the scrap shield as well in there, just surviving a very long time, and also not always having the hero reduction in this, maybe also a point that is making a difference here, without having the Morellas in there. If it isn't rolled by binary airdrop, then you're sort of in a problem. But let's have a look what the final fight says of today, possibly.
Alright, keep your eyes on the Sivir, whether she's actually taking any kind of damage at all. The Bloodthirster is not a good roll at all, what we're looking for. Spirit Shojin is decent for our friend, but no, it wasn't good enough. Gaga will take the L there. Oh my gosh, which means D-Wolf, both of them, go first, second, and first. And if you remember our tiebreakers from before, then the last round results are the most important when everything else is equal. So I'm hoping I haven't screwed this up and we can declare themselves D-Wolf to be our champion today.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it is looking like it. That was what D-Wolf needed, because obviously having the second, it would not have been enough. Then Gaga would have taken three first places, but that was not the case. And yeah, very close ending to a very close few rounds of TFT. So Gaga and D Wolf battling it out basically all 3 rounds long, or at least I think in the first round they weren't on a table, but then second and third round, the Clash of Titans, as I like to have called it, was indeed the theme of today. And congrats to all players, of course, just in general, but especially then to most probably D Wolf, with the tiebreaker standings leading him to possibly taking the first place. But we shall get to that in a second as we get in the final results. The players are entering right now.
And if you're talking about Clash of Titans, we couldn't go any further without acknowledging what happened in lobby number 2, which was this. Look at this land.
Lord. Isn't it beautiful? I am very sad that I missed that, I must say. Was that a 5 or 7 mercenary thing? Or is that just I roll Jace every roll and get Jace 3? That would be
interesting. I can only assume it's mercenary. I don't think there's any world in which that could be anything else. But, oh my gosh. I kind of feel like the whole 3-star 5-cost thing, it's in a weird place where, 3-star 4-costs sort of turn up semi-regularly, but 3-star 5-costs are almost not in the game because of how infrequently they turn up, and that seems kind of weird for a mechanic to work that way.
Yeah, I've struggled a bit. I had one situation which was, to be fair, also in double up, which makes it considerably easier to get the 3-star 5-costs in the late games if you have things to send over still in the end. But I was 1 unit away from getting Kaiser 3, which would have been fun to see. But I agree. The 5-costs have not been as relevant as in the past sets, which in some ways is maybe good. In other ways, maybe people are sad about. I mean, yeah, at least I guess I got to see it in the second lobby, even though we didn't see it in person. But we did get to see a lovely, fine little picture of a Jace 3 here.
All right, so we are going to be going on to our next stage of proceedings, which will be our giveaways for today. So let's get everyone gathered in from the competition itself. So we do need to remember that Diminish is kind of a something of a fake player today. So we will grab everybody else. So if anyone who's watching the stream right now, we're just going to switch back over here. Just check. The random was 1 away from a Jinx 3-star in the same lobby. Good lord. Oh, what's going on over there? So I think we've got everybody here. Let's see. So we had a table of 6 and a table of 7 the whole way through, right?
Yeah.
So that makes 13 people. Yeah. And if we eliminate the person who enters under 2 different accounts, that gives us 12. Okay, cool. Oh, thank you for the host, Smash TFT, and for the follow. The gates is open. So we'll be having our future competitions in a couple of weeks' time. I don't think I've actually updated the tiny.cc/CCC TFT. Next competition in 2 weeks on, I've always found it easier just to do the calculations for people, 21st of May. Also we need to stretch.
Get those stretches in.
Alright, so would you mind counting us in for, this will be our Little Legend giveaway. So we'll actually take out D-Wolf from this because they're already getting one from winning. So would you count us in for our first giveaway, which is a random Little Legend egg, or a Little Legend egg to a random person, rather.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Alrighty. This is for a Little Legend egg of the person's choosing for 500 RP or less, and it's going to be Demonoise. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Is our random the Legend Egg winner. Alright, next, we're going to put back in the Wolf TFT for, this will be our next one, our RP giveaway from Rick's GG. So again, please do go show them some love. Really amazing organization. The details are in the chat. twitter.com/RixGG_, supporting women and non-binary talent of all kinds in the esports scene. Would you mind counting us in one more time for our first RixGG giveaway?
Of course. For my friend Bisou. 1, 2, 3.
Marvelous. I don't know how to say marvelous in French, but I'll say it in a Frenchish accent. Who's it going to be? I think it will. It's Pills42. Busy loves the French accent. We're all here for it.
Yes.
Pills, congratulations. Is our random RP winner. Alright, so next we are going to have ourselves who did the streams today. So let's just go check that on our main sheet. We should have all of the streamers in there, but I'll post them up on stream, of course. So if anyone sees that they were streaming and they're not posted here, I'll give you a second to correct that. So it looks like we had 5 different streams today across.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watching, let me know if we're missing you. But I think that was everybody. I'll give it a few more moments just in case. I know we're on about a 15-second delay going out live. Don't think anyone's saying that they... once again, if it turns out we have missed someone, I will do this draw again. I know that's going to be really unpleasant for anybody who did actually win. But... yeah, we'll make it a cut-off, actually. Alright, we'll... yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, so good. I think
Alright, can you count us in? We've had 2 languages so far. How far do your skills extend?
How about the language that I should speak anyway, which is German, so...
yeah, let's do it!
So, 1, 2, 3.
Alright, who will be the Kugelschreiber? Who will be the Kleiderschrank? Those are just random German ones, I know.
Yep.
Alright, well, it's not them. Let's give that another try. It's Twitch.tv, but which Twitch is it? It's Mash TFT. Congratulations,
hey.
Mash.
The German countdown for the German winner. Who would have guessed? Was it scripted?
That's how you know it's fixed. Streamer RP winner.
Damn it.
Alright, and now, almost legible, we've got our feedback providers. So we'll just quickly jump off here to the prize stream while I put those in and strip out people's... Actually, I should just change the feedback form, shouldn't I? Let's put in 2 sections. In-game name and Discord ID separately. That way, I'm going to save myself a lot of bother in future competitions. Right, enough. There we go. Done. So let's just strip out people's numbers, and then we'll be able to do that penultimate one. Of course, we then need to have our formal announcement of the winner, though we've kind of already figured out who that's going to be. So, back to the stream. Would you mind counting us in for the final time today? This will be our feedback RP prize from RixGG.
I'm running out of languages, I must admit. I guess English we didn't have yet, right?
Yeah, we haven't done English, that's right.
Yeah, I'll go with that then.
By the bell.
And maybe in the right direction for this time. 3, 2, 1. Rip it.
They do things differently on the continent. Oh my gosh, are you gonna...
Is it rigged? Is it rigged?
It is rigged!
Wow.
Congratulations, DeeKayIronside, for rigging the competition.
Not just the German part of it, but now also myself. Lord, save my soul.
Alright, well, all that remains then is just to bring the final results onto stream. Which, actually, I suppose doesn't work very well, because the person who won is not the person who's actually listed first in the results. But either way... just to give you guys an overview of how things played out, because we only really bothered to do the tiebreaker for first place. But if you want to figure it out for yourself to know exactly where you came in the competition, feel more than free.
Indeed.
I mean, yes, you can see the chat is blowing up with accusations of riggery. Outrageous. But yes, our winner for today will be D-Wolf because of winning the last game while having the same result. Means that's the tiebreaker that ends up coming in. Incredibly well played from Gaga as well, though, so Commiserations to them. At least we actually did have something which we rarely have in TFT, which is that actually have the results be decided by the last game.
Yeah, for the second time in a row, one may add. I mean, if one disaccounts the Hyper Roll tournament that we had in between. Yeah, two very close endings in a row. It's always good for us. And personal shout out from me for Shutanachi, who ended up playing on 2 accounts today and still managed to grab a 4th with one of them. So yeah, especially shout out and for her. And otherwise, just yeah, well done to all. Commiserations, especially to Bizu here, unfortunately, at the very bottom. Unlucky man. Better luck next time for everyone who isn't first, I guess. So we keep things rotating. And yeah, just all in all, I'm just quite sad I didn't see the J3, I must say.
Yes, I am as well. Well, D-Wolf, I believe this will be, at least from the part where we start recording them, this will be their first tournament win. So congratulations to D-Wolf again. It's unfortunate D-Wolf isn't streaming today, because otherwise we could send it across as some sort of additional prize for them.
Yeah.
As it is, let's see. If any of the folks who were in the competition are going to be carrying on streaming, then do let me know in the Twitch chat. We can send it across to you. Otherwise, let's see if we can have a dig through and see. Yes, I think Teamfight Tactics has dropped down a little bit in terms of its heady heights from before. But it's still doing okay. 13k is alright. It's not 20k, admittedly, but maybe once the next set comes in and everybody's a dragon, it'll be alright.
Yeah, indeed. I quite liked Mash comment in the chat right now. These are going 666. Basically meaning that French are evil.
I mean, that's hard to argue with, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
one could be. Yeah.
Comfy Cozy vibes from Good Tessa. I've never heard someone say that about their TFT stream. We've got to go check it out. Demo, any plans on a PBE tourney? Possibly. If people, I will put out a thing about that to see if people want to do PBE, because I know it's harder to get people on that client. But I also know that people will tend to just, be playing PBE rather than coming to regular tournaments when, you've got a whole new set to play with. So I guess I'll maybe put out a poll and see what people think. And if enough people want a PBE tournament, we can do it.
Yep.
But now, though, let's go check out Good Tessa. I've never seen them before, but they seem to be adhered to the same kind of vibe we're going for here, which is relatively relaxed, except for the times we start yelling and throwing things around. Again, we shall be back on the 21st of May for our next competition. Also, before we go, just a quick shout out to your good self, DeeKayIronside. Now, this is not to embarrass you in any way, but DeeKayIronside has only got 4 followers on Twitter, and that is absolutely unacceptable. So if any of you guys wants to see more of DeeKayIronside, please to go drop a follow over there. Let's at least get him up to double digits. I think we can manage that. But for now, let's head across for our raid. So please be nice to Gutessa. I'm sure everyone here will be. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks' time. Alright, we are raiding.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Even got the female streamer in the end.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I love their stream setup there. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, it looks cozy. Also a very fitting layout. I like.
I've actually seen woman as a tag before. That would be a good way to to be able to do that in the future.
Yeah, actually.